Hey, welcome to Black Spinner Circle on a Tuesday night live. I got my co-host Andy Rodriguez. What's up, Andy?
What's up, man? How's it going out? It's good to see you, man. You been doing all right?
Yeah, I've been MIA for the past few weeks. I've had a lot of like just family stuff and
Yeah.
stuff I couldn't. Or I worked late last week too. So the week before, I think I had my family here or something, or my in-laws. I think. Yeah, so I wasn't able to do it last 2 weeks. So I've been gone for like shit, what, 3 weeks or something.
What about
So,
you?
but my brother Andy holds down the fort, so appreciate it, brother.
I tried my best.
From Redbeard Videos, we got Chris Elliott. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
What's up?
How you been, man?
I'm living.
Yeah.
We're ninth circle of hell, but we're all good.
It's been a while since we've had Chris on Black Spinner, so it's nice to have him back.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. It's always good to be here. So I'm looking forward to a good show, a different topic. I like it. It's different. So
Yeah, and we got our recurring guest Joseph Staub. You know, my man. What's going on? Just saw
Evening, folks.
Striper last night,
Glad
man.
to be
How
here.
was it?
It was,
How was Striper?
amazing.
Was it
It's the
last
best I've
night or-
ever seen them.
Was it last night or 2 nights ago? Last
Sunday night. Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did they play
It was
for?
included. Well, they do an intermission because it's two different sets. Total of like 2.5 hours.
wow,
Wow, interesting.
damn.
That's including
Because
the
of-
intermission.
We moved the show to the night because tomorrow night, and it's still up in the air. I didn't get a ticket yet, but I might be going to Striper tomorrow night down here in Florida. So I'm probably most likely going to go, but it's just kind of
You do it out. You
Yeah.
will not. You will not.
How many of the new?
yeah.
How many new? Like what was the mix between old and new stuff? Just I don't want you to ruin the set list for Al, but
So this is their big like 40th anniversary tour. The
Yeah.
first set is all 80s stuff up to Against the Law. The entire
Nice.
second set is 2000s and past.
God
Wow.
damn, I wish I would have went to this show because I would have bailed after the first set. I would have completely went for the first set and left. Oh, I'm such a
The
douche.
second set was the best. The second set
Right.
was the best.
No, it
The,
wasn't.
the first set was like the crowd favorites. They were kind of talking through, like
Yeah.
Michael would talk between some of the songs, have conversations with the crowd. The second set, they just pummeled you for an hour.
Yeah,
just-
I just
Really, no stopping between songs. They pulled out stuff that they have almost never played before.
So,
yeah,
like,
I
the
just
first
can't get
set
into the
had a-
newer stuff though. I just can't. I've tried.
I
just
like the
can't.
newer stuff, man.
I like some of the
The
songs.
newer stuff's
but
my
I mean,
favorite.
It's just too preachy for
I
me.
got
I mean, even
goddamn
more
e-
than the old
I
stuff.
got goddamn evil right here, signed by the
Well, I
band.
think it's-
right there if you can see it, because that's a tour. That's a tour.
Yeah.
I saw them on in New Jersey at Stone Pony. Was it 2018? So that was for this
Yeah,
tour.
2018.
And it was cool. If you bought something at the merch table, they gave you a ticket and you can meet the band afterwards just by buying something at the merch.
That's
I
really
know-
cool.
I know they're doing like meet and greet packages now,
Yeah, I dig that. That's cool.
but this was cool when they did this. It's like, so I was like, dude, I fucking bought the CD. I met them. They signed it. I didn't get pictures with them though, which they kind of weren't allowing that. I think they just kind of they sat at the table and you just kind of but Michael Sweet was standing up at the end of the table, like he was like the last guy I met, and I engaged with him a couple minutes. Actually, he was pretty cool. Like he was into talking and stuff. So
What year was it?
2018.
Oh, so it was
Well-
before COVID. So yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't do pictures. That's
Yeah,
weird.
I don't know why. Like I don't know. They just weren't.
Maybe they're worried about it holding up the line or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they just kind of wanted it because I guess a lot of people wanted to do the meeting or they bought some, so they kind of wanted to do it quickly. So I probably
Yeah.
could have snuck a picture in with Michael Sweet though. I could see him. He probably would have been cool if I just went like this. snap a
Yo,
picture.
dude.
Hey, dude. Hey,
Hey,
Mike.
what?
You know, but yeah,
Sneak
so that's
attack.
cool. Yeah, I'm probably more than likely gonna go see them tomorrow. So
Cool.
I'm probably just gonna go right after work, right to the venue, just buy a ticket at the window. Because I looked at it's not sold out, but I think it'll probably will be sold out from like walk-ups. There's
Where are they
like,
playing? Where in
huh?
Florida are they playing? Where are you? I don't know where you are.
I'm in the Tampa area. They're playing in
Okay.
Clearwater
Okay, cool.
at a cool little theater. So
Yeah, last time I saw them in House of Blues back in like, God, it was like early 2000s.
yeah,
So
it's probably something
Yeah,
a little bit. It's a little theater. It's not like very big. So but I like it's intimate. So I
Yeah.
saw
Well,
I saw Saigon Kick there like earlier this year. So it was cool.
Wow.
Sound is good and stuff. So
I would love to see
yeah,
Saigon.
I
they
saw
just
it
announced
at
that
Rand-
Jeff. They just announced that Jeff Scott Soto is going to be doing shows with them. Like he's going to be singing for them.
Wow.
Yeah, what's his name? Jason Peeler on his
Yeah, Jason
Facebook.
Bieler. Have you
page
heard any
said-
of his other stuff, Jason Bieler? It's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Like
I
the
heard
Jan
his solo
Piesky
shit.
Orchestra and all that
Yeah.
shit. Like that stuff.
Yeah, it's
That
good.
stuff's so
It's
dope.
kind of progressive, actually.
Oh
It's
hell
pretty-
yeah! Well,
yeah.
Saigon Kick borders on progressive at times. It's
But
they're
that's
more King's X than they were ever hair metal. Like it's ridiculous. But
Oh yeah, they bordered more like kind of like if Jane's Addiction kind of was more had a bit of hair metal in them. You know what I mean? Kind
that's
of.
not a bad comparison.
They were kind of like that. They were kind of a bridge between like hair metal and '90s alternative metal. So
I can see that. Sure.
they kind of had one foot in each like genre. So that's why nobody really could categorize them. They kind of, and the fact that they had a hit with a ballad kind of
Roped them into hair metal.
It gave them a big hit, but it also killed them. You know?
Yeah, no, it roped them into hair metal just like all the others. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, where they're found on like hair metal ballad CD singles or
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
forgotten hits in
100%.
the 80s where they don't belong. So what you're saying, Joseph, is the first set of Striper, there's a lot of sing-along songs?
No, actually, they closed with that.
Well, yes, that's kind of traditional.
Man. All right.
Nice.
That's the only 80s song that they play in the second set.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
La, la.
So yeah, I came up with this. I just popped into my head because I been kind of getting into like I was listening to some couple concept albums, but I was like, let me pick a decade, which '90s, which is like always considered '90s is always considered alternative and grunge and
Groove metal.
fucking hip hop and all this shit, but. I want to like see what good concept albums like because prog metal was big in the fucking '90s. I mean, Dream Theater fucking blew that shit up, dude. And it became
King's X had their moment in the 90s.
Yeah, so I was like, what's some good concept albums from the '90s, man? Let's pick a decade, and '90s typically not considered like a decade where you think of like concept albums, but there were a lot of great ones, dude. When I was thinking about it and looking shit up, man, I was like, wow, that's a great one.
Not as many as I thought I was gonna find. I'm not gonna lie, I actually
not
had
as many
to look,
as the '70s or '80s.
Yeah, I had to look up because I wasn't sure. That's why I asked the question. Like, pull back the fourth, break the fourth wall here. Like, I had to message these guys and be like, so what kind of concept album are we looking at? Are we looking at like something that's conceptual in theme, or does it have to be a story? And then Andy was like, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, it could be a loose concept too. It could be, as we go through it, the verdict will decide here.
Yeah, I tried to stick as narrative as possible, but
yeah.
So yeah, that's
that's
our topic for tonight. What's that, Andy?
We're not going to be all like, that's not concept enough. What's the storyline behind this?
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
Haven't you heard? I'm exhausting.
I don't know, man. Some of Chris's choices are usually suspect.
I'm exhausting.
I love you, bro.
How long is a concept?
My whole life is a concept, okay? And everything I do is part of it. So any album I listen to is part of this concept. Therefore, I pick whatever the fuck I want.
Sounds good to me.
Let's get going with our What's Spinning segment, man. What have you been listening to, Chris? Anything?
Oh, what? Yeah, anything? No, nothing. Actually, this week I stopped listening to music. No, what have I been listening to? I just saw Protest the Hero in '68 a few weeks ago, so I've been kind of listening to '68 a bunch, and the new Vola came out, so I've been listening to Vola kind of nonstop. That's kind of been my thing. And then, oh wait, hold on. And then I got this vinyl. This is probably going to be my album of the year, but it's this band Better Lovers. It's
Whoa,
somewhat of a
that cover is pretty wicked.
yeah, no, it's fucking awesome. And this is like metal, not metalcore. It's just fucking heavy. It's kind of like, I don't know, without getting too deep into it, it's like Dillinger Escape Plan light.
Oh, okay.
A little more straightforward because it's Will Putney from what's he from? As I Lay Dying.
Okay.
And Greg Puciato from Dillinger Escape Plan, Killer Be Killed, etc., etc. It's kind of a super group, but like on a underground thing, but it's fucking tremendous. So yeah, Better Lovers, 68 and Vola have been my listening things for this week.
And my buddy from Staten Island, he's going to go see Dillinger in Philadelphia because they're touring again.
Yeah, but they're touring with their OG singer from their very, very first album, Dimitri Minik.
Yeah, Dimitri. Yeah.
Who I don't like. I don't like his voice, so I won't go see that. But because I'm a huge Dillinger fan, so it's weird for me to be like, like Dillinger's on tour again. I don't even know if they're doing any of the non Dimitri stuff, but I'm not interested in it because I mean,
they're probably just doing the early stuff. So.
Well, there's just one album. He did the one album. They've been doing Calculating Infinity. Actually, that's an interesting question. Carry on. I'm going to look something up.
Okay. I thought he did too, but
no, he did. He did Calculating Infinity, and then I think Under the Running Board, which is a live version of Calculating Infinity, I believe. And then Irony is a Dead Scene was an EP, but they did that with Mike Patton. And
that's right.
And then and then Greg Puciato, who is the Mike Patton clone, in my opinion, did everything since.
That's who I see. That's who I saw them with, Greg.
Greg's incrediwhat. That guy's voice just doesn't quit.
He's the one that shit on stage when I saw him.
Yeah, that sounds like Greg. That sounds like him.
What the hell happened here? Hold on.
What?
I don't know. Like I just went off screen here.
You're fine on our
Okay.
side.
No. Something popped up and blocked my screen. So, all right. So, Joe, what do you got, man?
So, I love the internet. The internet has done me a lot of good in my life, and I found this recently. I've been looking for it for a while on Discogs, and it's one of these 3-album classics of Uli era Scorpions. And all of these CDs are out of print, and you can't find them anywhere for less than like $50 a piece. And even this set is pretty much out of print. And I found it in this set, and somebody on Discogs was selling it for $20.
Nice.
Like practically in like near mint condition. And it's amazing. So it's In Trance, Virgin Killer, and Taken by Force all in one set.
Nice.
And so I've been just jamming those 3 albums a lot lately. So
great albums.
That's what's spinning over on my end.
Good.
Yeah, I got Virgin Killer on vinyl. I love that album. So good.
Not the original cover though, right?
No.
We can't show that on this show.
I got too much luck.
No.
I have two back here where that doesn't fit in.
The police might show up at your house.
I'm not talking about Sting either.
Andy, what do you got, bro?
Yeah. I finally got this in the mail. I ordered it, and I finally got it. It's one of those broadcast collection from 81 to 95 Iron Maiden. It's
okay.
It's 5 live discs. 2 shows from 81. The third CD is from 82. The fourth one is from 1995, and another one from 1995.
So it touches all singers then.
Yeah, it does touch all 3. So far, I'm still on disc 1. So good. Disc 1 is so good. It was live at the Netherlands, April of 81.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much all of Killers and a little bit of the debut album on there. So I've really been digging this. Ever since we did that Iron Maiden show, I've been listening to a lot of Iron Maiden. So I ordered this, and I'm glad it came in. And I'm really digging broadcast collections. I've got several more on the way. I ordered a Van Halen one, which has both singers on there, which is gonna be pretty cool. And I've also got a Sabbath coming in that their live shows from 71 to 75. So that's kind of what I've been kind of collecting. And also, I went to the record store the other day, and I grabbed. I did not know that. I can't find it. I did not know that Mick Taylor from the Rolling Stones did a solo album in '79, and it's all right. It's not 100% gold, but it's okay. It was his solo debut, and
Oh, okay.
I was wondering who the singer was, and apparently he plays all guitars, he does all the vocals, he does all the bass and all the piano. So he only has a drummer. Other than that, he plays everything else, which is pretty interesting.
Mm.
I was expecting to hear like early '70s guitar licks of Stones. And instead, it's a laid back album, and it's all right. So that was a big surprise. What about you, Al? What have you been spinning lately?
Well, I figured since I was going to go see Striper tomorrow, Soldiers on the Command.
Yeah.
This one, and I got a couple of their cassettes, and I've been jamming cassettes in my dad's truck again.
Such a badass album. Soldiers is such a good album.
Yeah, it's this man. When I was jamming this one, man, I was like, "This is a fucking great one, dude." I love the first EP too.
Do you know what's incredible? So there's a song on there, "The Rock That Makes Me Roll."
Yep, the last one on the side one here.
Almost the entire first verse, I've heard people bands bring instruments in later in a song to kind of punch it up, like to kind of give emphasis. But if you listen to that song again, like next time you listen to it, the bass is completely gone until like the end of the first verse. Like it's insane to me. Like it's just guitar, vocals, and drums. And then all of a sudden it's like boom, and I'm like, I've never heard it held out that long. It's just one of those little anomalies that I picked up on. My autistic brain picked up on like way back when I was a kid. And I'm like, where's the bass? And then I go and listen to it again, and I'm like, there's no bass. And then all of a sudden you hear it kick in, and you're like, wow, that punch is hard. So yeah, that's a great album.
I picked up on it too a few days ago.
Yeah, I love that album so much. I love that album.
Yeah,
I have it on white vinyl.
I used to have the white vinyl.
Nice.
When I sold my first collection, I had the white vinyl. I had the blue, yellow and black Attack. The translucent blue one. The one you could see through. It wasn't solid blue. It was a see through, and it was awesome. But yeah, I sold that first collection a long time ago. So,
yeah, this is like this is one of the early pressing ones. I don't know.
I had the OG cover for To Hell with the Devil.
Yeah.
The one that was banned for some absurd reason.
Sticker on the front.
Oh, that's
this
cool.
Person, like taped the sticker on the front.
Well, that's worthless, but it's cool.
Yeah. I paid $8 for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a reseller, that makes me cringe, but as a collector, that's pretty dope. So there you go. I have a a stick. I have a version.
I have the shit cover. I have the shit cover.
You have the bad cover, right? I have a Styx, a copy of Cornerstone that would be worth way more because it's like an OG copy, but the person I bought it from had taped the hype sticker to the thing. So yeah. I used to have that poster. I used to have a poster which had the four triangles. Yeah. I was a huge Striper fan. It was weird. My biggest dream in life, I saw them at Radio City Music Hall for In God We Trust. And I was like, I don't know, maybe 16 rows back. But my dream in life was to get blasted in the bean by a Striper Bible. And it just didn't happen for me. So that was
they're still throwing them. So
wow. So you're saying there's a chance. There's the OG cover. That's the
cover.
Yeah, that's banned. That was banned in America for some reason. What the fuck?
My cassette has that cover too.
Yeah.
It was just too. It was too badass. It was too badass.
I mean, but like, it just goes to show you how we've never been like land of the free. We've always been like the land of the oppressed, but just it was been a little more covert. So now it's like, but like, yeah, that's the most absurd one. And I Want to Break Free video from Queen. Those are the two most absurd things I think have ever been banned from American culture in the mid 80s. I didn't understand them. Like, I get it because like, you know, Reagan's America. I get it, but still. you know.
The Poison Open Up and Say Ah cover.
Oh yeah, that one too. That's But see,
Okay,
that one,
hold
that one,
on.
I can at least explain that one. Like, this
I
is a
can't.
pro-Christian message, though.
I
Like,
know.
the Striper
Yeah,
was
but then
a pro-Christian
But
message.
then again, Jimmy Graham hated Striper, so like he was
explain
on
that.
his show. Like they were like the most blatantly Christian rock artist in America.
They were throwing
and, like,
Bibles out.
he was literally on TV calling them the work of the devil.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even a Christian back then. I mean, my parents faked it, but like I learned all about what Isaiah 53.6 meant. Like I like by the stripes he is healed. Like, you know, like I know the whole lore, and like I didn't care about God. I never did. But like but that
When
was
Striper
huge
was
to me.
on.
Striper was the shit to me, man. That was it. So yeah. Yeah.
So one of the other things I got too, and a good friend of mine sent it to me, was Alex Van Halen book, Brothers.
Oh, okay.
I've heard
Yeah.
about this.
That new one.
He met up with Alex and he got him to sign it, so I got to have a signed copy. I'm just starting to dig into it now, man. It's cool, man. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, my friend Bobby, man, he sent it to me. Bobby, thank you very much for that. You're an awesome friend. I have awesome friends up in New Jersey still send me shit. So
Nobody likes you, Al. Get over it.
nobody likes me.
Nobody like you. We know you bought that yourself. You don't
Yeah.
have to make up story. No, I'm joking. Nobody likes me. That's me projecting.
Everybody hates me.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get going on this
Yeah.
topic here. So top 10 concept albums of the 90s. We'll start off with you, Chris, with your number 10.
My number 10. Oh wow, I gotta get my notes. I'm not even ready. I'm not even prepared. Oh no, where'd my notes go? Uh-oh. Okay. I'm still not used to, you know, everybody said buy a Mac. They're so easy. And like everything, it's starting to fall into place, but I'm still learning. Okay, here we go. My number 10 is I don't know. I consider him the king, the modern day king of progressive metal concept albums. It would be Arion Lucassen. And his group Arion, or his project Arion, which usually has a whole host of characters, but this was early on, so he didn't have any really huge names on this one. Into the Electric Castle is the name of the album. And let me see who's the roster here. The biggest names on here probably are like Annika van Giersbergen was on here, Peter Daltrey. That's pretty much it. I mean, everybody else is kind of all from European prog metal bands. You know, a guy named Fish, who I don't even really. I mean, he was.
Fish is
he's
Marillion, right?
Yeah, Marillion. That's right. Yeah. Okay. So, and Sharon Den Adele, who's from Within Temptation, but they're all European. Like later on in the career of Arion, you got into like Devin Townsend appears on albums, Ty Tabor, James LaBrie, even Tommy Rogers from Between the Buried and Me. So he gets into bigger things. But anyway, Into the Electric Castle was the beginning of this. Was it the beginning? Oh no, it was the second one. The Final Experiment was the first one. But this was the one that everybody points to as like the beginning of the Arion thing. And basically it's just a super group, or it's like, or it's just like a project. It's almost like he writes rock operas, metal operas, and then just recruits people from all different corners. And he plays guitars and most of the instruments except for drums and voice. And he even sings on occasion. So yeah, Arion, Into the Electric Castle, came out in 1998. So I would check it out. And all of his stuff, if you're into concept albums, just looking ahead in 2004, The Human Equation might be one of the best concept albums I've ever heard. So I would highly recommend checking that one out for sure. But
Cool.
all of them are good. All of them are good.
So Arion, what's the name of the album?
Into the Electric Castle.
Okay, there you go. So that's your number 10. So Joe, go ahead, man. Number 10.
Well, it's funny that this is my number 10 because I don't even really like this album that much, but like it had to make my list just because it is a well-known concept album of the 90s, and that is Wasp's The Crimson Idol.
I fucking love it.
I'm not a huge fan of this album. There's some songs I like. Chainsaw Charlie's an amazing song. Gypsy Meets the Boys, great song. I like the song The Idol, Great Misconception of Me. Some good stuff on here. I find the concept kind of pretentious.
Well, yeah.
I think it's not a great story, and I think Savatage did it way better with Streets. the similar kind of story about this mythical rock person. And this is Blackie Lawless's Who worship, but I
Yes.
think that it's a decent album. It's not as good as some people think it is. It's not as bad as some people think it is. I'm kind of right in the middle on this album, but it's a pretty iconic concept album of the '90s, so I had to put it on my list. So, Wasp, Crimson Idol.
Just my take. I love it, and this will speed up one of my picks because this was one of my picks, like hands down. And it's I think it's Blackie Lawless's like best work across the board. I love his voice on this album. He really wails on that album.
He does sound good on the album,
and you can kind of hear the emotion. He really cared a lot about this album. Not that he didn't care about the stuff before it, but
good care on this one. I mean,
yeah, he definitely put a lot of emotion into it. So yeah, but yeah, fuck you, Joe. No, just kidding, just kidding. You said you liked it enough, so. Oh, Frankie Banali is amazing on it, and the guitar work of Bob Kulick also fantastic stuff on there. Really good guitar work on there. So,
cool. Hey Jimmy, how's it going? My number 10. I looked at this album because it was listed as a concept album. I said I don't know what the concept album. I don't know why this is put on there on concept albums. But as I was reading it, and it was more theme related, and it's a good album. I liked it. Jerry Soupy is going to like this pick, but Alanis Morissette, "Jagged Little Pill," as my number 10. It follows a theme of aggression and relationships going up and down. So it's kind of a winding road kind of album. When I read it on there, I was like, oh, okay. I can kind of see it because I do like that album. I think it was greatly written with her and Ballard. And it's a really good rock album. And it really did break a lot of barriers back in the early 90s. So that's my number 10, Alanis Morissette, "Jagged Little Pill."
There's a phenomenal, and I do like one of the best music documentaries I've ever seen on HBO Max about that album. I think it's called Jagged. I think that's what it's called. Okay. But I think it's part of the Music Box series, but it's so good. It's really well done, and she tells the story, and it's really fantastic. The song "Forgiven" lives in my head forever. I fucking love that song. I love the whole album. I'm an Alanis Morissette stan for like the first 2 or 3 albums, and then I kind of fell off. But but she's dope, and that's a great album. I don't care how many times I hear "Ironic," and I don't care how bad the lyrics are. I still love it.
And that's
the lyrics that album made my honor.
That's an album where
that album made my honorable mentions.
Completely reinvented herself because she was kind of a dance pop kind of artist in the 80s, right? Or early 90s and in Canada. And then God comes this aggro fucking, alternative album, and she just blew the hell up. And she was like the biggest thing, man.
And she brought Taylor Hawkins to us, so there you go.
Yeah.
So,
he didn't drum on the album though, but he did live with her, right?
I don't know if he was on the album actually.
I don't think he was on the album.
But I know he definitely toured because when I saw her, he was on there. So
okay. All right, well, my number 10, and being that I saw him recently, I've been like digging into a lot of his solo stuff. King Diamond, "The Graveyard." I mean, you could pick a handful of King Diamond albums. They're all like stories and concepts, and ultimately, I went with this one. I think it's a kind of a really, just a great story as only King can tell it. Walking in on Mayer molesting his daughter, and then fucking she ends up killing him in the end, like chopping his head off, and keeps her in her backpack, and just a good story. Just a great story that only somebody like King can tell a horror story. And you can just listen to his albums and just have movies playing in your mind and just imagining this shit. It's pretty cool. He was great, man. When I saw him a couple weeks ago, man, he was just phenomenal. And first time I ever saw him solo, because I saw Merciful, a year and a half, 2 years ago in Philadelphia. So, but I got to see King solo, and the stage show was really cool, and he was awesome. So Definitely, like, man, if he comes through again, I'm always going to catch him now. You know, because I've been, you know, I liked him, you know, when I was in high school and stuff, but not like, you know, I wasn't fanatic. You know, now it's like I'm really like digging into like a lot of his stuff. I was always more, never really gave his solo stuff that big of a chance. I was always just into the Merciful Fate stuff, but like, yeah, he's more horror like in his solo stuff, whereas the Fate stuff is a bit more satanic, you know. But this one, it's a cool concept. One of the concept albums I picked in the '90s. So King Diamond, The Graveyard, number 10. Chris, number 9.
Just to go back for 1 second, Jagged Little Pill. I swear I learned something new every time I look at Wikipedia for something I thought I knew up and down. I didn't know Dave Navarro and Flea played on You Ought to Know. I just wanted.
Oh,
to
he did the plan there. Oh,
yep.
okay.
And Benmont Trench from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers played on it.
Ah,
Yeah, he played on a bunch of tracks.
I think I remember reading that on the credits because I got the cassette somewhere.
But Taylor Hawkins did not play on the album. That is
no,
true.
Matt Loud played the drums.
Yeah.
who played?
Matt
Who
Loud.
played Loud?
Matt
Okay.
Laug. It's one of those weird AU names. Laug. All right, my number 9 is God. I can't wait until this album comes till the new one comes out. If I'm going back to 1999, the beginning of this illustrious career. God damn, one of the best prog metal bands of all time, Opeth. Still Life is just a phenomenal, just an awesome album. The story as it's read here, and I could sum it up myself, but I'll just read what Michael Ockerfeld said. It's not satanic, but it's anti-Christian. It's an anti-Christian theme. It sounds pretty naive when I explain it like this. It kind of takes place a long time ago when Christianity had a bigger importance than it has today. This was 1999. The main character is kind of banished from his hometown because he hasn't got the same faith as the rest of the inhabitants there. And then it just goes on from there. It's heavy. Album. It's progressive. It's got the melodic and the brutal, like Michael Ockerfeld to this day, still one of my favorite death metal vocalists of all time. So, you can't go wrong with Opeth. So still in 1999, it's 2 albums in a row I've picked from 1999, but that's Opeth, Still Life.
That's a great one.
On the cusp of the 90s, right there.
Right there.
Right at the end. Right on the cusp of 2000s,
right? Their crown jewel would follow that one up though, but I think that was 2000, so
Blackwater Park, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
but still Life, man. They were really getting proggy already. Like with the,
yeah.
They always barring maybe the first album, they always had like that proggy. I mean, first album was just straight up kind of death metal, pretty much. Well,
it's funny. It's funny because I just wrote a script for the album to do one of my 1-minute videos for the album Heritage, which is when they kind of went away from the death metal thing.
That's completely. When they dropped the death metal growls completely.
Right. And Michael Ockerfeld said that he was just generally disappointed with the metal scene as a whole and felt like they were outsiders from the beginning. So he might as well just go the whole way.
Yeah.
So that's what he did.
They were kind of outsiders. Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
I think purists and like death metal kind of dismissed them, and obviously purists and I guess prog metal kind of dismissed them too. They mixed the two,
Yeah,
I mean, they came around later, like the people that were into shit. I mean, now like they're huge, man. I mean, they're just considered gods now.
Their new album is so anticipated. I cannot wait.
I can't wait to get that.
It's like another 2 weeks, I think. But yeah, Last Will and Testament. I cannot fucking wait. I just from the 2 songs I've heard, I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be stupid. Like it's gonna be like stupid good. So I'm excited, and all their stuff is good, but I think it's a whole new level. So I'm excited. But anyway, Still Life was my number 9. Still Life, Opeth.
Okay, Joe.
Well, I'll just continue the conversation because my number 9 is Still Life by Opeth.
Whoa, hell yeah, dude! Look at that. I knew me and Joe were on the same.
Since we already talked about it, I will also kind of throw a little bit of attention towards the previous album. My Arms Your Hearse is also a concept album.
I almost picked
less of a tight concept story wise.
That's why I didn't pick
Still Life was. So as I there it is. Al has it holding it up right there. Since we already talked about Still Life, I'll just throw a little bit of attention towards My Arms Your Hearse because it's equally a great album.
I'll
Still
allow it.
Life is the one on my list, but I think both of them are. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. But I feel like both of those albums deserve some good attention because I mean a lot of people that aren't really big into Opeth go Blackwater Park and then the stuff that came after.
Yes, that's
and
true.
I don't think a lot of
Totally true.
people don't really. I don't think dive enough into particularly these two albums. I think those are the two best that they did in the 90s.
Except for the death metal people. The death metal people will
Yeah, of
point to
course.
Still Life and the first two albums, and then everybody else will talk
Yeah.
about everything else.
Yeah, Morning Rise and Orchid and
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
But really, man, I mean, I love all. I mean, I discovered them with Blackwater Park. That was when I came into them.
Yeah, me too.
And then, you know, as I got their albums as they came out, you know, in the 2000s, and then I went back. I'm like, let me check out the earlier stuff, man. I love it, dude. I don't even think they ever really put out a bad album, man.
I
In my
agree.
opinion,
I
you
agree.
know?
The only one that I could possibly say would be the one that I didn't love the most would be Incauda, whatever the fuck.
The last one. The last
Yeah,
one.
I can't say the whole name, but yes,
The
that
last
one. It's a good album. I mean, I always say it this way: when a band has like almost every album is a banger, you're just comparing diamonds at this point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're just comparing diamonds, and you're going, this one's a little more cloudy than that one. You know, that's pretty much it. So Opeth is untouchable. It's just that simple.
All right, cool. So, Joe, that was your Still Life as well, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah,
Andy, go ahead, man.
Yeah, Opeth is a band I've always heard of, but never really got into them. But you know, I'm writing down all these albums to check out, so that's pretty cool. My number 9 is going to be. Hold on.
Nothing like live fucking streaming.
Dead air, bitches. I don't do dead air. I'm a professional broadcaster. We don't do dead air.
You just hock a loogie on air. That's
Well,
good, man.
that's why I silenced myself at first, and I went, "Oh, my mic is live."
Guys, are you there?
I heard every bit of it. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Even when I did
number
this, you still
9
heard it. You didn't hear it. See,
I
you
heard.
can't hear it. You heard it just now. You hear it now. You still hear me right now.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah.
Talk.
Why is that doing that?
Yeah,
That's weird.
You didn't mute yourself. I heard you going.
I muted it on my OBS. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just realized in this streaming, that's fucking hilarious. What a dick.
Andy, sorry, man.
My number 9. I just bought this CD like a couple of months ago, and I like it a lot. And it's in fact my favorite solo album by him, Roger Waters' "Amused to Death,"
Oh yeah, dude.
which it was I believe it's Jeff Beck plays on a lot of that, and it's very weird because when I'm listening to it or when I was reading about it, it can relate to everything that's going on today.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
it talks about the mass media and people being consumed by it, and that's what the whole album is about. So it's so prevalent today that it can be released today by Roger. So "Amused to Death," which is my favorite by him, because the others were just okay, and makes me think that he always needed some kind of guitar god or guitar wizard to really make his music more interesting. When he had Clapton on the pros and cons of hitchhiking, but it wasn't as good as this album here. So "Amused to Death" is my number 9 by Roger Waters.
I think that's his best one, man. To be honest. My number 9, I'm going with 9 Inch Nails, "The Downward Spiral."
Ooh.
It could definitely be considered a concept album. There's definite theme running through it of like, you know, self-abuse and kind of like nihilism and fucking, you know, just a downward spiral of kind of self-autobiography. You know, I think Trent was going through a lot of shit and just kind of wrote about it, dude. Like, you know, I'm sure he got fucked up with drugs and all sorts of stuff, and kind of this album just kind of goes through those moods, man. So this is what one of my albums that I spun a lot, like when it came out. I really got really into 9 Inch Nails at that point. So yeah, I did get into them. Actually, a friend of mine in high school introduced me to when Head Like a Hole came out, and I was kind of like, whoa, what is this shit, man? You know, this industrial kind of wasn't really used to it, man. But when Downward Spiral came out, that's when they really kicked the door open for that, man. They were like Trent was like the king of that stuff now. Them and Ministry really were like the 90s like kings of like industrial metal. So but yeah, that's gonna be my number 9, Downward Spiral by Nine Inch Nails. So we'll go to number 8.
You left out Marilyn Manson. That's a pretty big one for that time.
Yeah.
Later.
He had the industrial element. Yeah, but he was around the time of.
He was in the 90s.
I know. Yeah,
his big stuff was in the late 90s.
We're kind of fresh, and we're.
I think absolutely. Superstar was like 95, right?
No, yeah, I mean
96.
Yeah, Nine Inch Nails was definitely the grandfathers or they were the first. They were definitely the ones that
kind of predates them too, though. But
but Nine Inch Nails broke it out for sure. Yeah, and it's what's interesting about the industrial metal thing is that it never went anywhere. It it was never a movement. It was like 2 or 3 artists, and that was it. Yeah. And that was the end of it. It's so weird.
But a lot of bands dabbled in it.
Yes,
a lot of bands.
Became part of new metal. Actually,
it did influence a lot of like bands that throw industrial into their
new metal. New metal. It definitely new metal. I don't know. I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head now, but just listening to new metal, it seems like it grew out of the industrial idea with integrating a DJ and artificial beats and the whole thing. Like it definitely, industrial metal definitely influences new metal in a big way. So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
So much better by, the industrial metal bands, because when it came to new metal, it was just a little bit touched upon. These other bands really, gravitated towards it.
Yeah.
Well, the industrial metal was much dirtier than the new metal was like a little too like shiny.
It's very clean. Yeah, very, very.
Well, and then it incorporated the hip hop into it too. So whereas Trent was rapping on the first album too. I mean, if you
a little bit, he was never really a good singer per se. He was more of a vocalist. So I mean, by his own admission, I have actually heard him say that. He's like, I'm not the best. I'm a keyboard guy.
And I think Trent's got on record saying that there was certain hip hop artists in the 80s that influenced him too. So,
Well, yeah, I recently, not recently, but I think last season I released a video about the album La Sexorcisto, and Rob Zombie says all his vocal patterns are heavily influenced by gangster rap, like in a big way. And now I can't unhear it.
You can hear it in the delivery.
Yeah, now I can't unhear it. Now it's like one of those things where I was like, oh fuck, like that's what this is now. So
go ahead, number 8, Chris.
My number 8 is I guess the album is called The Love Symbol. It's Prince.
Yep.
The Love Symbol. And I didn't really realize this was a concept album until I read up on it, and I was like, wow, that's legit a concept album. And it's basically, the story is just what is he saying here? The storyline, I'm trying to remember now. I read this earlier. A narrative thread to the songs, when taken together, explain the album's conceptual storyline. An Egyptian princess falls in love with a rock star and entrusts him with a sacred religious artifact known as the 3 Chains of Turin. After escaping from 7 assassins who had murdered her father in cold blood, which is the huge hit 7. So, and it just goes from there. And the whole thing is pretty much, and there's a lot of spoken word stuff in between the songs. So I thought it was just Prince being Prince. I didn't realize it was Prince being Prince and telling a story at the same time. I thought he was just doing weird, wacky shit. So for those of you who love this album and all the hits on it, which include Sexy MF, My Name is Prince, and I don't know, was this the first album where he dabbled into the hip hop stuff? Was this the first album with the New Power Generation?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the first time
he Power Generation.
Yeah, so this is the first. Yes, it's the second.
Wait, no.
It's the second.
Diamonds
of 2.
and Pearls was.
Yeah, Diamonds and Pearls was right before this. Yeah, so but yeah, and if you don't know this album, it covers every single style of music there is. Basically, it's got R&B, it's got funk, it's got pop, it's got rock, it's got hip hop, it's got soul. just like Prince and as
Yeah, sure.
usual.
Yeah,
Love
just like
album.
this album.
Yeah, Love Symbol's a great album. It's one of my favorites. I don't know how I missed that it was a concept album, but I did until today. So there you go.
Because you don't think of Prince as like, I don't think of him as doing concept albums, but I guess if you really delve
There's
into
a couple.
it, really,
There's a
There's
couple
Batman.
of them that
Well,
are.
there's Batman. There's Purple
Yeah.
Rain. There's Under a Cherry
Um,
Moon. There's
yeah.
the one after Purple Rain, which always
Graffiti Bridge.
There's Graffiti Bridge, but
true, no, you're right. You're right.
isn't the other one Round the World in it?
Well, Love Sexy.
Around the
No.
World in a Day.
Around the World in a Day, I believe, is
the
too.
concept album. Yeah.
So
That was his first. That was his first. That was a concept album that wasn't attached to a movie.
yes, truth, and it's tremendous. What a good album that
That's
is.
my favorite.
Anyway,
Around the World in a Day is my favorite Prince album.
yeah, it's a great album. All right, I'm done.
All right, go ahead. Joe.
Yeah, no. Love Symbol was on an honorable mention on my list. Great album. It's my favorite, probably my favorite Prince album in the '90s.
I love when I'm on Joe
which
when Joe and I are
was
on the
a-
same page.
Very, very hit or miss time for Prince, but that's definitely one of the highlights from that era for me. So my list itself is a concept album because I found this out today, and it was
Fuck
very
this guy.
it was very interesting that I found this out. The next album that is on my list, the live album that this band put out following this album, in which they played the entire album, was called Still Life.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I find it very interesting that they put out, and it was released the same year as Opeth's Still Life was. So I find it very interesting that was what they call the live album. And that is Fate's Warning, Pleasant Shade of Grey.
That's on my list too, Joe. It's on my list. Go ahead.
So yeah, I
Good
found
job.
it very interesting. 'Cause I looked it up and I was like, wow, that's kind of funny that they put out a live album called Still Life in 1999, in which they play the entirety of Pleasant Shade
Yep.
of Grey on
Yep.
disc 1. So if anyone doesn't know, Pleasant Shade of Grey is one big track, basically split up into 12 parts.
Yep.
All following the same lyrical concept. It is, in my opinion, Fate's Warning's masterpiece.
Agreed.
I think it is their most progressive album. It is pretty much one of my favorite progressive rock albums of the 90s. And
I
that
agree.
largely comes down to one of the main influences of some of my other favorite albums of the 90s, and that is the keyboard player. And that is Kevin Moore from Dream Theater.
Yep.
Played on this album. As did who played
Joey Vera.
guitar on this
Joey
album?
Vera.
Joey Vera. Joey Vera played bass.
Well,
on this
Joey
album.
Vera was bass.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Joey Vera from Armored Saint played bass on this album. Overall, just a phenomenal progressive rock album. Just really a tight concept, not really about much of anything, but just it's a tight concept about just kind of sadness, darkness, clouds and rain, and that's basically what it's
'Cause I
about.
think you hear rain.
And-
I think you hear rain recurring
Yes.
throughout the album. So
Yeah, the kind of atmospheric rain sound throughout the album. Yeah.
my buddy John, who's a huge Fates Warning fan, he got me into Fates Warning. He let me borrow the VHS video of that album. There's a video of that
Yes.
album he put in, and they're playing the whole album, and then it's just one long form video. It's
Yep.
them. You'll see them playing on a stage, but I don't know if they're playing live to anybody. I think they are actually, but it's kind of like intercuts between you see rain falling on like a window pane and all sorts of other kind of cool shit, So it's
So
kinda
they did the video. So they did the video mind crime thing. Cool.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. So
And another album on my list has a similar thing later, where they made a movie version of it.
Cool.
all right,
Yeah,
Andy.
my number 8 has already been kind of mentioned by y'all, and that's going to be Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar, which took Jesus Christ Superstar, have presented it into their own style, their own storytelling, and their own sound into the 90s. And I wanted to touch on the metal industrial movement that they were talking about, because you're right, you thought that it was going to be bigger because you had these big bands with big albums and big tours, and then it just morphed into
It kind of
something
fizzled
different.
out.
Yeah, and it kind of morphed into something that wasn't as exciting as the way that it had started out, especially in the 90s. Since what we're talking about is the 90s, when you could have done anything in the 90s and it was going to be brought to the masses. So that I think that there could have been more albums and more bands like that, but it
What
kind
would-
of fizzled out, like you said.
Chris, what would you say was like the gap of years of like industrial? I would say probably 92 to 95.
So Pretty Hate Machine came out, and I think what 90,
That's
91?
89.
Yeah. So I would say from Pretty Hate Machine.
So like 94,
And
95.
I mean, do you consider Manson a full
I
industrial
don't
band?
though. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't consider him a
So,
full.
Because Manson carries on into the 2000s pretty successfully. I mean, Mechanical Animals was what 98.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, he had success all the
Yep.
way through until the early 2000s, and then he started to fall off a little. I mean, if we're doing straight industrial, I just like Nine Inch
First
Nails
half-
is kind of
First
Nine
half
Inch
of the
Nails.
90s, I
Well,
think.
9 Inch Nails, and maybe if you want to give some credit to Prodigy for like one or two songs for being industrial metal-ish, but
I
like
don't
not
consider them,
exactly.
no.
You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
I would say I don't even know if it was a movement. I just think 9 Inch Nails Ministry had a minute, but like they were always very underground. Ministry.
Fear
They were never,
Factory.
Fear Factory, but they were
Fear
more.
Factory.
But were they industrial metal or were they just like
Yes.
because they kind of
Definitely
I mean,
were, bro.
maybe I don't know.
They had elements.
I
of
mean,
the, they had elements of the-
strapping young lad, maybe a little bit. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
if
short.
you're gonna go
It's short,
pure industrial, I mean, yeah, 9 Inch Nails and Ministry were the top dogs, man. Like, I mean, they were the top of the mountain, And then you kind of had your next tier, Fear Factory was
But that's what-
industrial metal. I mean,
But that's
like,
what I mean. There wasn't even like a second. There was barely a second tier. Like
It
you
was
can
that
point it. You could point at grunge and you can go the first four, right? And then you can go second tier, STP and all those. And then like you can even go all the way down to like Silverchair and all those. But like industrial was like 9 Inch Nails, and then whatever. Like not no
And
disrespect to
then,
Ministry,
like-
they're huge.
And then
but-
like one album from every band in the 90s.
right, yes, everybody
I mean,
tried.
even Wasp, Kill Fuck Die was like
Yeah.
industrial. You know
Everybody
what I mean?
dabbled, man. Everybody dabbled. I mean, I listened to other bands like there was Monster Voodoo Machine, which I listened to. There was a band called Bile that I used to listen to. I mean, there's a few industrial bands, but like they never broke through. Like it was kind of a club scene, honestly. There was a club scene for industrial music.
Yeah.
It was
Oh yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. There was an underground
even
like
then
close.
It pretty much died by the end of the 90s anyway, because even like after the Fragile, 9 Inch Nails wasn't industrial anymore.
Yeah, really.
I mean, you
Yeah.
listen to the Ghosts albums from the 2000s, you listen to Year Zero, any of that stuff
Yeah.
that they did in the 2000s. It is not it's ambient music. It's just
Yeah.
ambient noise music.
Yeah.
Yep.
He
Pretty much.
Reznor was focused on his soundtracks and that kind of
Right.
stuff,
Yeah.
and 9 Inch Nails was not industrial anymore. They were pretty much done with that after the Fragile, and so by '99, that whole scene is pretty much gone, and
Yeah.
and what was left of it has kind of morphed into nu metal, and as we kind of talked about, that all got very kind of plastered by the end of it, very
Yeah.
just kind of very samey.
And then just one more thing on going back to the Manson album. That was one of my favorite albums of the 90s, and it would have made my list. But Manson and his problems, and the auspicious use of the word, the N slur on that album, although it is brilliantly written, I'm not sure if it's appropriate anymore. so I stopped listening to it. So that's why it ended up on my honorables. because it is a phenomenal
here.
album. It's hard to deny how good that album is musically. Even lyrically, it's pretty brilliant. And even though I don't like the use of the language
Right.
of the slur, it's perfectly used. Like, and it's very rare you can say that. So there you go. But the lyric "I wasn't born with enough middle fingers" is hands down one of my favorite lyrics of all time. So
With that being said, yeah.
All right, number 8. I'm going with. It's already been mentioned by Joe Wasp, the Crimson Idol. I'm going with that one. I do like that album a lot. You already know about the concept. It's a kid basically that runs away from home and I guess finds a guitar and wants acceptance, and and his parents don't accept him, and he ends up hanging himself by a guitar string at the end, and there you go. So, but I do like that album a lot, actually. But that was probably the last Wasp album I kind of got, and then I've been kind of discovering like their later stuff now, so I'm gonna go see them actually in like 2 weeks down here in Florida. They're playing Orlando. A coworker of mine actually got us tickets, so me and him are gonna be going. So look at that, man. I'm covering King Diamond, Striper, and then Wasp, so I'm going from hell to heaven, back to hell. Chris, number 7, man.
I'll make this very simple. My number 7 is Pleasant Shade of Grey by Fates Warning.
Awesome.
I really have nothing else to say on the album that we haven't already said. I was it's interesting. The only thing I will say is that 97. I mean, I was kind of over the Kevin Moore thing by then, but I was happy to see him come back. That was the main reason why I got that album in the first place. I've always kind of liked Fates Warning, but I always kind of also saw them as low rent Queensryche back in the day. I appreciate them way more now. And this album is probably the reason for that. So
I think in the 90s they took over from Queensryche. I think they blew them away, dude. Yeah.
Well, I think this album was definitely a turning point because if I'm not mistaken, Promised Land came out in 96, right?
No, Promised Land was
94.
94, so it was earlier than that. Oh, I'm sorry. 97 was Here in the Now Frontier.
Yeah.
That was the last album with
Yes.
DeGarmo. And then after that, they went to
Yes.
shit. Yes, truth. As a matter of fact, did anybody else hear?
They went to shit on that album.
See, I don't dislike that album. Here in the Now Frontier, I like that album. I like a lot of it. I don't think it's as good as I think it's their worst album in that era for sure. But I think there's a lot of great songs on that record. And
Well,
that
it's
tour was
certainly
incredible.
better than Q2K. I'll give you
Oh
that.
God, what an abortion that is. God, a failed one at that. I actually read today, not today, this week that Jeff Tate's doing a Queen's Mindcrime 3, and it's going to be heavier and more technical. And I'm like, dude, he hasn't written a good album since DeGarmo left him. Can we stop with the Mindcrime? Just play the stuff that exists and forget Mindcrime 2 exists. Like just play the first album. Just be happy with that.
This is probably his last attempt of coming back with something that people would mildly be interested in, probably, so
Well,
the Mindcrime name back,
The only reason people are even mildly interested in it is because he won the rights to play that album in its entirety. Queensryche can't.
And I will give credit where it's due. He still sounds good live. Like he still sounds solid.
Not as good as Queensryche does.
Well, no, like Todd LaTorre is like what 20 years younger than Jeff Tate. So let's be fair. But yeah, you're right. LaTorre sounds amazing. But Jeff Tate's an intimidating dude, and I got to interview him once, and I told him to his face that I'm like, you haven't written anything good in my ears since Here in the Now Frontier. And he's like, whoa, you probably like emotional music. And I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to get emotions from a music. I don't understand what you're getting at here. What I mean is, I'm like, I'm actually retouching that interview. I'm gonna release that to YouTube because it only aired on the radio once. So,
Chris, you mean American Soldier didn't touch you?
Yeah, it touched me.
All right, let's get going. Come on.
It touched my stomach. Made me want to vomit. Yes, that's what it did.
Joe, number 7.
Well, good concept albums they make movies out of. Great concept albums they make comic books out of. Alice Cooper, Last Temptation.
Cool.
Interesting.
I don't hear people talking about this nearly enough, in my opinion. I think it's his best album of the '90s, even though there's only 2 of them. I think it's way better than the other one he released in the '90s. I think this was a kind of a.
Even in the '80s.
There's a couple albums in the '80s I like more than this.
Oh,
but
really? I like it better. I mean, to me personally, that was his best since the mid '70s, in my opinion.
The only ones I would put above this from the '80s are Dada and Raise Your Fist. I love those 2 albums, but I'd put this above everything else that came after Welcome to My Nightmare. I honestly would. I think this is a really phenomenal album that I don't hear people talk about nearly enough. He still plays Lost in America live, pretty much every tour. And that's probably the weakest song on the album. And I think it's a great concept. It was actually co-written by Neil Gaiman, who's a very famous science fiction author.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman.
He was the one that wrote the story. Was the one that wrote the comic book that they based off of this album. Overall, just a really, really good album, and he has not done almost anything nearly this good since. So, no. Alice Cooper, Last Temptation.
Yeah, that's going to be that's also my number 7, Alice Cooper, Last Temptation. Wow.
Awesome.
That's why I was talking about it along with you. It also uses the main character Steven, which we last heard about Steven on Welcome to My Nightmare, which was one of the titles of the songs on there. They brought that character back for this album. So this brings back that Alice Cooper of the '70s that we hadn't had in a long time, of his menacing lyrics. The '80s were an interesting time for Alice Cooper, especially there in the early '80s, which were good albums, but very uncharacteristic of Alice Cooper. But this was something that went back to his bread and butter. Even though I did like Black Diamonds, I think that was in the '90s as well, right? Black Diamonds.
Dirty Diamonds.
Dirty Diamonds. Thank you. Yeah,
that was 05.
Black, dirty, it's all the same.
Really?
That was 05. Yeah, he had Brutal Planet and Dragon Town both came after Last Temptation, before Dirty Diamonds.
We call them chimney diamonds.
Okay. So yeah, good pick, Joe. And then you're right, we don't talk about that album enough, and we really should, because that was a welcome back to form. So Alice Cooper.
All right, cool. I gotta check. I haven't listened to an album in a long time, man. I check it out. It's not on my list, but I gotta check it out, man. I'll be seeing Alice Cooper down here in Florida next year, I believe. So, yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Well, I got this Frank Zappa album. It's great. I'm going to be seeing Frank Zappa down in.
I wish I was seeing Frank Zappa.
You see everybody, like you.
Don't we all wish we were seeing Frank Zappa?
Yes, we do.
Weasel's coming to Houston for the 50th anniversary of the Apostrophe.
Guess what? Al will be there.
Oh, I will.
I'm pissed. Dweezil announced a second leg of the tour, and he's still not coming around me, and I'm pissed
really?
about it.
He's coming to House of Blues.
I'm so pissed.
In March, I think.
Yeah, he'll be down here.
Yeah, he's not coming around here, is he?
No.
Because the what was the show you just went? You went to Striper.
He just played. He just played in New Jersey, like during the summer. I know some friends of mine that went to go see him.
What was the show?
That was about as close as he got.
Joe, what was the show you went to before Striper?
Before Striper. The most recent one before that was Queensryche.
Yeah, I think I'm almost. Where did you see them?
Charlestown.
Okay, no, there was a show you went to that I almost went to, and I remember going.
Styx.
I should go in.
Styx.
It was Styx. Yeah, it was Styx. Yeah, okay. That's what it was. Anyway, now that we got that worked out.
What's your number 7?
My number 7 is Canadian band Saga released an album called Generation 13. Probably their most proggiest album. And it's really about kind of, they say when you're born between 61 and 81, you're the 13th generation. That's considered the 13th generation.
Oh.
A generation typically lasts, I don't know how long it lasts now. It typically is like 20 years, 25 years is a
Okay.
generation. So this album has 25 songs on it. It typically follows a guy named Sam through 25 years. Every song is a year in his
Oh wow,
life.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, if you've never heard this album, it's
Oh.
really cool. Saga's a great band, very underrated in this country, man. Nobody really knows them besides like On the Loose and the Worlds Apart album. That's really was their breakout album in America, and then they never really capitalized on it. They kind of fell off. But yeah, man, their later albums, like this album, Generation 13, very highly recommended. If you want to get into concept albums and stuff, it's a great one. I had to put it on my list because I love the album. So that's
So
my
like
number 7.
So like each song represents a year of his life.
Yeah, his
Like
first
he's 1,
25
2,
years.
and 3 and 4 years old.
Yeah, because typically 25 years is a generation, and then that's Generation 13 is considered people who were born between 1961 and 1981, which
Yeah.
is me. I think all of us. I don't know, but Joe, you were born later, so
Yes.
I don't know what
I'm
year
around
you-
the same. I'm the same generation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the three of us are. Joe, you're
Gen
what
X,
generation
baby.
are you considered? You're a
I don't
millennial.
know. 90. I was born in 99.
So
He
you're
graduates
considered-
high school like tomorrow, so you know.
You were born when in 99?
I teach high school. What are you talking about?
Still, you were
Yeah,
born in 99.
99.
You're like 25 years old, dude. Fuck.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, he's half
Yeah.
my age almost.
So what generation are you considered?
I think
I have no clue. I have
think he's
never
a
put
millennial.
stock in any of
he's
that.
he's a millennial.
No, it's not
I
millennial.
think
It's past
I
millennial.
think I'm Gen Z.
Right?
I think I'm Gen Z.
Oh,
Okay.
I think.
All right. Anyway, number 6, Chris. Let's keep
All right.
this moving.
Yeah.
my number 6 is different than anything anybody's picked thus far. It's hands down one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time. It's the Fugees, The Score. And the best way I can just put it, Lauryn Hill did a quote from this. I was reading an article today, and it says, it's an audio film. It's like radio was back in the 1940s. It tells a story. There are cuts and breaks in the music. It's almost like a hip hop version of Tommy, like what the Who did for rock music. And I kind of really agree. It's a very, very creative, like, if you're the type of person that doesn't like hip hop or rap, you could probably get something out of this album. Like, you could really enjoy this album. The lyrics are great. The vocals are great. The beats are great. Lauryn Hill is just she was magical for 2 whole albums. And it's a shame that we didn't get more out of her, because
And
she's
then that
just so
MTV
incredible.
Unplugged happened.
Yes, exactly. And she's tremendous, and she's such a good artist. So, but anyway, yeah, Fugees, The Score. I remember when this came out, and I wasn't even really a hip hop fan. That's why I'm saying, like, this is what kind of this was my gateway into like accepting it as an art form and being like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. If this is like an example of what this can be, then I'm gonna check everything else out. And I did, and I went back, and now I love all of it. but
I mean-
that was the start for me.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see her live.
Mm,
She was fantastic. She was
Mm.
just. I mean, it was in a festival setting, so she came on after Dwight Yoakam, but
that's
she
weird.
was really good. It was weird where she was placed, because I like Dwight Yoakam and I like her, but the show really didn't flow that well because of the differences. But still, really good album though.
Tremendous. I agree. I mean, that's why it's my number 6
All right, man. Number 6, Joe.
with a bullet.
Yep. My number 6, we already mentioned it earlier, so I'll just mention it and move on, and that is 9 Inch Nails' Downward Spiral. Great concept album. Heavy. Very, very messed up, but great album. So that's my number 6.
I think if you're depressed, you should not listen to that album.
Do not.
Yeah.
Do
I
not.
kind of, almost kind of,
Any album that closes with Hurt. Ooh, boy.
almost kind of consider that album like the Wall of the '90s. To be honest, man.
That's not a bad comparison. It really is.
Yeah.
And the thing is that everyone says, "Oh, well, Johnny Cash owns Hurt now." I don't think so. I love Nine Inch Nails' version a lot better.
No, I
Oh,
think he
yeah.
does. I think he does.
I think he owns it in the lexicon of pop culture. I think that's true.
Even Reznor has said it.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
know
can
that
like one
Reznor has
version over the other. That's fair, but I think in terms of pop culture, I think it's Johnny Cash's song more than it's Trent Reznor's song.
Well,
Although I do love that video from way back with
Yeah.
Trent Reznor with the big screen and the whole thing. Like that was pretty dope. So
yeah, and very emotional as well with his vocals, and like y'all were saying, he didn't have the greatest vocals, but on that song, you can feel his emotion through that
yeah,
song.
absolutely.
So
He brought emotion. He really kind of brought emotion into like industrial music, which is
yeah,
kind of considered like cold and kind
just
of
noise.
yeah. So
Yeah, and he put a face to it. When
yeah,
at first it was just noise, like he said. Now Trent Reznor brought someone to it.
yeah.
But Chris, you said Fuji's the score. Well, I didn't go that route, but I did go with the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That I did go with.
That's in my honorables.
I liked that one more than the score. I guess because it was a continuation of her
Yes.
alone, and I just absolutely love her. I thought she was just gorgeous and smart, sassy, especially on this album, and very independent. And that's what hurts, is that she stopped right here. It's like fame just was too much,
No, she couldn't do it.
or the media just hounded it so much. Like, oh my god, I can't believe that she's done this, and then it's hard to try to capitalize on that. And then where can your career go after the media praises it so much? And then what? Anything else you do is going to be a failure, which really did cramp her a lot. So, but we will always have the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, and we will always have the score.
My
So,
favorite thing
for that.
my favorite thing back in my DJ days, which ended about 4 or 5 years ago. COVID ended my DJing in clubs and bars career,
Yeah.
as it were. But I was very successful in California. One of my favorite things to do was I'd be playing like a dance club, right, a dance show, and I would whip out that thing, and people forgot that song existed. Like
Oh, wow.
almost guaranteed every time I played that song, at least one person will come up and be like, I totally forgot this song. Like I totally forgot like this song, and the whole place would pop off every time. They would go, oh yeah. You could see that everybody was like, oh my God, this song, I forgot this song. Like
Yeah.
I did that also with another album that I mentioned, which was The Love Symbol, the song 7. Whenever I would play that song in like a club or something, people would be like, oh my God, I forgot this song existed. It's insane. So yeah, it's really
Lauryn Hill. I mean, she was just someone not to be forgotten, but she has been forgotten, which sucks. Number 6, Al.
You mentioned it before, Andy. I'm going to go with Roger Waters' "Amused to Death." I think it's his best album, and lyrically and thematically, yes, it's very relevant today with everything, all the media that's constantly pushing your face. This was way kind of ahead of its time. Or when that came out in 1990, was it 92? Just came out 91.
I want to say 95 actually. Wasn't it
No,
later?
not that late.
I thought it
I
was.
think it was 92. I believe it was 92. And Jeff Beck plays on it brilliantly, I must add.
I think it was 92.
Yeah. I mean, with the advent of MTV and all that stuff, our media was already getting kind of pushed in your face,
92.
but really, like, it was really a foreshadowing of what was to come. It was ahead of its time. There's a lot of albums that you could point to that could go that route,
Yeah, especially in '92 with the Desert Storm being televised,
yeah,
and with all these different cable news networks popping up everywhere, and that just became the norm.
Yeah, the 90s really started, and reality shows were starting to come in and all this bullshit, and really kind of Roger and, pretty genius, man, in his lyrical content, so he was always kind of pushing boundaries. So
it's like, who the hell needs news 24/7?
Yeah,
and used to 30 minutes a day. That was it.
Yeah, and now it's like in your face every second of the day. So
Yeah,
Now
it's
people are
very
just
funny
making
with-
shit up all day because it's in your face 24/7. It's
Yeah,
annoying.
there's just times when I just read something and I'm like, I don't even fucking know if this is true or not. Yeah, I don't even know what to believe anymore. So
I believe in sports scores. That's
yeah,
what
there you go. And even sometimes those are unbelievable.
I can't believe that happened.
All right, Chris, man, number 5.
My number 5 is the Crimson Idol, so we don't even need to really go into it any further, other than to say, again, I love Blackie Lawless's performance on here, and he produced that album. So I mean, that's worth something. But I love the album. I think it's fantastic. So
All right, cool.
Wasp, Crimson Idol, number 5.
Joe.
Joe.
All right. So my number 5 is an album that I mentioned in passing when I reviewed the Crimson Idol earlier, and that is the version that I think is better than the Crimson Idol, and that is Streets by Savatage. I think this is a fantastic album. I really, really love the concept of it. The kind of it's about a city and this kind of mythical rock hero, and kind of the ups and downs of his life and all these different things that go on. Some really emotional songs on this album, and actually 2 of them I have seen performed live by Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I've seen them do If I Go Away, and I've seen them do what's the name of the song? A Little Too Far. That's the other one. I've seen them do both of those songs live. They always try to throw one of those songs in, usually as a tribute to Chris Oliva. And
this is the album. It was his last album, right?
No. Edge of Thorns
Next one
was his last album.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
This is the last album that John was the solo vocalist on
okay.
until like 2001.
And Joe and I have
Um,
actually talked about this, and that's why I don't like it.
Yes.
Because Zachary
I-
is just a fucking beast.
Yeah, I love this album. They also have a really good concept album later on in the 90s, Dead Winter Dead, about the one of the wars going on over there.
I think it was about the war in Sarajevo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
this gave birth to Trans-Siberian Orchestra because of that
Yeah,
song.
because the song Christmas Eve Sarajevo was originally on that album, and then it became a big hit when Trans-Siberian Orchestra put it on Christmas Eve and Other
That's how it
Stories.
morphed into
When it was literally the exact same recording that they just transplanted
Yep.
and put on their album. They didn't even re-record it. It's the exact same recording.
Yeah, Sabotage.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Sabotage song.
Trans-Siberian
And they just put it
Orchestra
on
is
the
just
Disco album.
is like a Savatage music collective, you can call it now.
Pretty
That's
much.
what they are.
Pretty much. But yeah, no. So Streets is my number 5.
And Chris, guess what? I'll be
What?
seeing him next month.
Of course you will.
Hey, guess what? I'm seeing them next weekend.
Is that
Al,
when they're playing up? Is that when they're playing up by you next week?
Yeah, they're playing Hershey next weekend.
So I have 2 teenage sons who are in a band right now in the local area, and I swear to God, if I show up to a show that they're playing and you're there, I might kill you. I'd be like, "What are you doing here? How are you doing this?" Al just shows up. It's a concert. I'm here. Like
You
you're like
never
the
know,
concert,
man.
you're like the concert. You're like the concert fairy. You just show up. and-
Live music just summons Al.
Yeah. I love it, man.
I thought I got to be honest. Like I've been like I once upon a time about I don't know, about 5-6 years ago. It was during COVID. Actually, a lot of this shit happened during COVID. I and my sons sat and like I started thinking about how many shows I've been to, and it took me about a few weeks to really get through it, but I stopped at like 600. I was like, I've been at 600 shows. Al, there's no doubt that you've doubled me. There's no way you
I
haven't.
never counted, man. But
Yeah, but you had to have. You had to have.
Yeah, I've been to a lot, man.
Yeah, you remind me of my brother back in the day. Like he hasn't gone to concerts a lot over the past like decade, but like back in the day, he used to just every weekend he was like going to 3 shows in a weekend. Like it was like crazy. I was like back in the heyday of Long Island when all the clubs were popping and stuff.
I've only been going to shows since 2018, and I've been to over 100 of them. So
There you go.
you know,
Yeah. I may have been to like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I gotta count, man. It's
I mean,
gotta
because
be, it's gotta be like Man, I would say like 1,000, man.
Yeah.
Awesome, huh?
Well, because you have to be close to the age. My brother is like 57, like you. So I don't think you're that old, but yeah, you got to.
52.
Yeah, so you're in the same range. So you were around in the heyday, like of the hair metal, when there were like clubs in every
I
town.
started
that would
going in
host, like-
'85. I started
Yeah.
going,
Oh
shows.
wow,
So,
in '85, yeah.
yeah.
Because I remember like where I grew up on Long Island, there was like there was all these clubs that would always have like Poison and Warrant and Faster Pussy and all these bands. And my brother's like, I went to see this band, and this band this weekend. And I'm like, dude, there's only 3
Well-
days in the weekend. What are you doing?
In the in the '80s, it wasn't like I was going to a concert like every week though. But I mean, in the '80s, like when I started going, like it might have been like maybe once, twice a year, maybe. I was at the mercy of like if my brother took me to a concert because I didn't drive, or if I had
Right.
a friend that drove. It wasn't. I mean, I didn't. I mean, and once I got my license, there was no holds barred. Then that was it. You know what I mean? So,
Crazy.
and I got my license in 1988. So after that was really when the snowball
Yeah.
started going. But I mean, before that was only like I could count on one hand probably the amount of shows I went to. So anyway, where are we at here?
Yeah, I'm at number 5.
Okay, go ahead.
Another hip hop album, Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet.
I was gonna. That's in my mentions.
I know that we talk a lot about Public Enemy in the late '80s, but dude, in the '90s, they really did start to stretch out with this one.
Apocalypse
And,
91.
Yeah, Apocalypse '91 as well. That was the one that I forgot. But those two albums really cemented
Killer, man.
as
Killer
being
albums.
one of the best hip hop bands of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why I'm going to go
Absolutely.
with my number 5, Fear of a Black Planet, by the one and only Public Enemy.
But to me, Chuck D is the East Coast voice of that generation, without question.
Oh yeah, maybe KRS-One, but not as. But he didn't do as. His music was not as popular. KRS-One and Public Enemy really, or Chuck D really stretched out farther and past that. So, yeah.
All right. So my number, what were we, 5, right?
Yep.
I'm going with you guys picked Joe and Chris picked Still Life, but I'm going My Arms Your Hearse for my number 5. This is when they were really becoming like prog death metal, because the prog was really slipping into the music by this time, man. Starts off with piano, and it's just beautiful. It has these different moods to it, but it's still fucking brutal, man. And like when he hits you with the brutality, you feel it. You know what I mean? So like that Light and Shade that they used was really like awesome, beginning with this one, man. We can go. There's traces of it before this, but this is really when the prog really started getting into the sound. And then Still Life, yes, that's continues on with that. And
Absolutely.
It just snowballs from there, man. Into Blackwater Park and all the great albums they released after that. But I'm gonna pick this one in my top 10. My Arms Your Hearse.
Michael Ockerfeld, the most brutal Muppet you've ever seen.
God, and he's awesome. I'd love to see his vinyl collection.
He looks like a Muppet, though. It's hilarious. Like he really like if any human being ever, and not in an insulting way. I think he's cuddly, but he's a badass, though.
All right, man. Number 4, Chris. Go ahead.
My number 4 is kind of out of left field. It's a pop album, but it's kind of off the beating path for this artist. It's Ben Folds 5, the unauthorized biography of Reinhold Messner.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and it's not even. This is the only. I think this is the only non like straight narrative type that I have.
But there's kind of a theme throughout the album.
It basically is just talking about this guy's life. That's pretty much it. Like he goes through loss, he goes through this, he goes through like it's pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah.
There was one quasi hit on here. The song Army was a quasi hit, but and it has all the regular marks that you would get from Ben Folds 5. I always considered Ben Folds 5 as like the continuation of what Billy Joel was. It was just kind of like it's a piano based pop music, but it's not. But like, whereas Billy Joel was like this more of a rock Ben Folds was more of a independent,
Singer-songwriter?
like a singer-songwriter, indie type sound. And the most interesting story that I read about this album, and I've known this for a while, which is hilarious, was the drummer. I forget his name, Jesse Downs, Darren Jesse. Sorry. He actually came up with the name Reinhold Messner. And Reinhold Messner turns out, and no one knew this at the time, but it turns out he's like a famous like mountain climber or some shit. And he's like, and this came out years later, like after they produced the album and put it out and everything. And they're like, yeah, hi, I'm Reinhold Messner. So, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, this album is actually like labeled alt rock and art rock and chamber pop. Like it's all over the place, and it's a fun album. It's really cool if you're into that kind of thing at all. Ben
I
Folds 5.
do like Ben Folds 5. He's got a very pleasant sound to him.
Yeah, I love and I got into him because as a singer, there are certain singers that are like my range, and Ben Folds is like right my range, like top of his range, bottom of my range. That's exactly where it is. Unless I get into metal screams, I can do the high metal screams, but my proper singing voice fits Ben Folds perfect. So he's just a wonderful musician. I have yet to dislike anything he does. So
Yeah, and like you were saying about his vocals, he's a very engaging storyteller.
yes, yeah, no, I love his lyrics. I love his music. I like I said, I like just about everything. I've heard from him. A friend of mine actually went to a songwriting camp down in Nashville, like before COVID. It's like 2019, and she said he ran the camp, like he was the guest
wow,
for that
really?
week, and she said he was amazing. Like he was just so engaged and like interested in all the people there that were trying to learn how to write music, and the stuff that he taught her was just like mind-boggling. It was like so simplistic, and yet you couldn't figure it out on your own. It was one of those things. So yeah, he seems like a tremendous person. Have yet to meet him, but
Dude, yeah, he just does. Yeah,
yeah, agreed.
and I think he was on what show was he on? Because he was on some kind of music show, like a talent music show.
I don't
as a
know
judge.
that. I don't know.
I wonder what it was. I forgot what it was, but I will get back to y'all about that. I will let y'all know if y'all want to know. All right.
Joe 4.
Go.
Cool.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
It was an
in,
acapella singing contest. Sorry, the sing off.
The sing off.
It
Okay.
was an acapella show. Sorry, I just saw it. Sorry, Joe.
So in the mid '90s, Brian Eno and David Bowie got together and said, "Hey, Twin Peaks was a pretty popular show like 5 years ago. Let's write an album that is basically ripping off the entire concept of Twin Peaks." And they did. And it's called Outside. And the concept is absolutely bonkers. And the album is way too long. And the concept is all over the place. But the songs are really good because it's David Bowie and Brian Eno.
Bowie,
So,
yeah.
like, the songs are amazing. But the album is just all over the freaking place. Bonkers. Makes no sense. Don't try to understand what the concept is. You're not gonna. The songs are great though. So that's my number 4 is David Bowie, Outside.
So just enjoy the songs pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And don't reflect on the fact that it's a 70-minute long album.
Well, I'm a Dream Theater fan, so I won't.
My number
Kind of have a feeling what your number one's gonna be. Anyway, Andy, go ahead.
Yeah,
I think
my
Joe's is too.
Yeah, my number 4 might raise a couple of eyebrows, but Alice in Chains Dirt.
It's on my honorable mentions.
I think
It's in my honorables too.
Yeah, man. I mean, you could.
a
you can-
theme.
Yeah,
You know, a lot
theme
of
of fucking death, man.
It's a theme. It's a theme for sure.
Just fucking drug addiction and death, dude.
Drug addiction.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
what almost the whole album's about. There's not a concept story to it, but
And let me tell you something, man.
throughout, but it's badass.
And let me tell you something. Fucking Lane sells it, bro. I mean, you believe it, bro.
Oh,
What do you
well,
think?
it was true.
It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite. It's one of my favorite albums of that decade.
Yeah, me too.
I can't get enough of that record.
I mean, he sells it because it was true. You know, we now know that it's 100%. true what he was going through.
But yeah,
Even
he,
though it's
he
mainly written. A lot of it was written by Jerry Cantrell, but still, man, they fucking delivered it.
and Lane Staley, I heard an interview with him, and he has a lot of regrets about that record because he did, because he's not alive anymore.
Right.
But he had a lot of regrets about that record because in his eyes, he said he had an interaction with fans, and they kind of came up to him and they were high on heroin, and they kind of gave him a thumbs up, and he said that was not what I wanted. Like he felt like he glorified heroin addiction.
And I don't know how it is because it's a whole. It's
No, I don't see it that way either, but he did.
harrowing album. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, he had a hard time with it.
serious.
Though.
So, hey there, Adam. How's it going, man?
Adam.
It's a very it's a scary album. It really is. All right,
So,
number 4.
so
Al.
incredible.
Oh, my number 4. I think I have a feeling Joe's gonna have this on his list. I don't know. I might be stealing his thunder a little bit, but I'm gonna go "Brave" by Marillion.
It's a good one.
Yeah, concepts about a girl is the police find a girl lost on a bridge somewhere, and then she doesn't communicate. And I don't know, if Joe has it on his list, he'll probably talk about the story better than I can. But I think it's one of my favorite Marillion albums of the '90s, of the Hogarth era. Actually, right behind Marbles for me. Marbles, I think, is my favorite by them, by that era. I think Brave is like right behind it. And I had a Brave CD here, actually signed by Steve Rothery, but I can't find it. But I do have one of his side projects, though. It's called The Wishing Tree. If you never heard it, man, check it out. It's got a female singer. It's signed by him, too. I met him. He did it. Marillion wasn't really – it's very rare that when Marillion tours over in the U.S., it's just – if it happens once every 10 years, you're lucky. But he was doing a guitar clinic in New York City. So I'm like, well, I never seen Marillion before. This is going to have to be the next best thing to actually see Marillion, because he's going to be playing guitar, talking about stories and songs and all that stuff. And I get to meet him, dude. So he was a really charming guy. And I had him sign my Brave CD and that one. And I have another one signed too. So he was really cool. I got a picture with him somewhere too, but this was before pictures on cell phones. So I actually had an actual digital camera with me. Wow. So I'd have to find the card where the picture is on and upload it to Facebook to add to my fucking, brushes with fame fucking
Al has a picture with him and Alice Cooper from 1974.
I don't have one with Alice Cooper.
They had like the cubes.
the Polaroid with the
right, with the cube on the top, the flash cubes. I love that shit.
Yeah, I think I still have a camera like that too, man, somewhere. So but yeah, Brave by Marillion, that would be my number 4. And I'm feeling Joe probably had this on his list.
You needed that flash, man. You just needed it.
Yeah. All right, number 3, man. Chris, go ahead.
Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Ooh.
I
have a feeling Andy might have this one.
Yeah, can't complain about that record at all. I'm gonna be honest with you and tell you I don't remember what the concept is. But I love the music, and yeah, I'm just gonna go with that.
Well, I remember one disc being called, was it Melon? Was one was called Melancholy, and I think the other one was The Infinite Sadness. Okay,
what it was.
Well, right. It was kind of like one was day and one was night.
Yeah, exactly. One was day and one was night.
It goes through a time period of a day.
Yeah.
And the first disc was like dawn to dusk, and then dusk to twilight.
Okay.
That's how the second disc was. I'm really not too sure.
But I'll never forget, I remember when that album came out, and I hated it because I'm struggling with the concept. I'm actually writing a video right now where certain styles of vocals it takes me a bit, and I can't get past it. Uh-huh. And Billy Corgan, it took me damn near a decade to kind of just come to grips with it, because I'd hear the music and I'd be like, oh, like songs like Zero, like blow my mind. And I'm like, oh, fucking Zero. Or even Tonight. I love the music. I love the orchestration. I love Jimmy Chamberlain as a drummer. I love like there are so many things that I love about that band. But I would hear and I can't. I was just like, oh my God, kill me. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah,
Like somebody
I
put me
love
out of my
it.
fucking misery,
Yeah,
please.
Billy's voice is definitely an acquired taste, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
just
loved
got
it.
what
I
up?
still do.
But I got past. Well, that's what I mean. I got past it, and now I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And like the new thing for me now, I don't know how many of you are into like the really like new metal bands that have come up, but there's this new band that is out now called Knocked Loose,
Yeah, I
which
know that.
everybody is all fucking gaga over. And granted, the music is absolutely fucking killer. But my God, there's this new breed of screamer that they do this high pitch, like it's I can't. I desperately want to because I hear the music and I want to punch people and it's great. But like then I hear the and I want to punch myself just to put myself out of my misery. So I'm getting there. Like I'm trying. So I'm trying to get there. But yeah, I'm writing. I saw a band open for 68 and Protest the Hero called Kayanashi. Same deal. The band was absolutely stellar. And then this one singer, I'm like, oh, and I'm like, take the pen, and like over. So anyway, yes. But Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness it's found its way into my broad lexicon of favorite albums of all time, despite my hatred for it for about a decade. And because of the vocals, yeah. But it's a great album.
To be fair, I'm still there with the vocals.
I know you are.
They were great live, though. I'll give them that. They were really good live. I thought they were really good. I'll give them that.
It's funny, man. When me with the Pumpkins, it's just for me. It's all about the first two albums, and then I'm kind of out. Melancholy was good, but I felt like that's when I started falling off on that, man. I think
So you like the rawness?
The double CD, it was a bit. It's bloated, dude. I don't know. I just.
But I mean, even the production is bloated. It sounds like you like the raw with Gish and Siamese Dream.
Yeah.
Like they were so raw. Those albums were just dreadfully raw, and not in a bad way. I just mean like they're just really just they exemplify. It's funny that they never get mentioned as like part of the big grunge movement. I always saw them as separate from that, but yet those first two albums are pure grunge, like pure grunge.
You think so? I think they're very separate from grunge.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't consider them grunge either, man.
I think the first.
I kind of consider those first two albums kind of
a little proggy.
A little proggy, but like
I'm talking about sonically,
like, shoegaze and kind of like you could tell like he was very much Sisters of Mercy and The Cure and shit like that. Like
he's a huge Rush fan too,
and then he's a huge Rush fan. So like all that like got thrown in a melting pot. And Pink Floyd and shit like that. And
yeah.
I think when talking about Smashing Pumpkins, to me, it's like the same way we talk about Saigon Kick. They got roped into what was the sound. So sonically, they definitely, to me, sound grunge. Like they sound like they fit right in on those two albums. And then when you're talking about the bloatedness, when you get the Melancholy, the production on that album is a massive step up.
See, when I think of the first grunge, man, I think of more like to me, grunge is very simplistic.
Yeah.
But when I hear Smashing Pumpkins, when you really listen to it, man, there's some serious like kind of sophistication in their music, dude.
Apart.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but when Alice in Chains and Soundgarden are also considered grunge, I cannot consider
Alice in Chains and Soundgarden more metal.
Yeah, but they're considered grunge no matter what.
I know that. I know.
I was gonna say we've had this conversation that grunge isn't really a thing.
Yeah,
we've had this conversation.
It's whatever band came out of fucking Seattle. Dude.
Well, honestly, I think. Well, what I'm getting at is, I think it's a sonic thing. I think it's less about the notes that are on the page and the sound that comes out of the speaker. That's what it's more about. It's about the sound. Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Pearl Jam do share a sonic quality.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a songwriting quality because Alice in Chains is light years ahead of most of those bands, except for maybe Soundgarden. Soundgarden's the only one one that came close. Like if you listen to Bad Motorfinger, there's a lot of odd shit on that album. Even Super Unknown, it has a lot of like complex stuff on there.
See, I consider, for me, Soundgarden is like if it was a threesome between Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and the Melvins. To me,
Agreed.
those three, if they had a
Pure
threesome,
metal.
fucking Soundgarden was born out of that.
Pure metal. Bad Motorfinger is a metal album. I never understood why it got roped in with the grunge thing,
Right.
other than the fact that it has a sonic, sonic equivalence to like Facelift and Nevermind and 10. Like it's just
And
and then
Seattle.
and they're from Seattle. And then of course, like hair metal, everybody tried to look the same too to fit the style. So there was
Yeah.
that too. So
Yeah.
They all dressed the same.
so
The Doc Martens and the fucking flannels and shit.
yes, absolutely, without question.
All right, let's continue on.
Joe.
Yes.
Well,
Good analysis.
my number 3 is one of the most depressing albums you'll ever hear in your entire life, and that is Nevermore's Dreaming Neon Black.
Ooh.
Wow, that's out of
is,
left field. That's a good one.
from start to finish,
Wow.
one of the most depressing albums you'll ever listen to. It is just 13 songs about death and blaming yourself for death, blaming God for death, hating God, hating yourself, hating the world around you, and then dying.
Yeah,
That's
that
literally
sounds
what
like
this
fun.
album is about. But it's a phenomenal album.
Really.
And it's based off of a true story. Warrell Dane, the singer, main songwriter of Nevermore, had a friend who like went and joined a religious cult in the early 90s and just completely disappeared, and he never heard from her again. And it turns out later that she and her husband both got killed by a serial killer. And so it's like a lot of messed up shit went into making this album. And it's a very dark, depressing album. And it's amazing. So that's what number 3 is. Nevermore's Dreaming Neon Black.
So
Great album.
basically, if you're in a very upbeat, happy mood and you want to change that, listen to that album.
If you want to bring your happiness down a couple of notches.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, my number 7 hit hard.
7.
Number 3. You're the other way.
Number 3 getting hit by the lynch mob. Talking about Ice Cube's death certificate.
Wow,
shit.
good one. Good call.
Is that about death too?
No, it's not about death.
It's about smoking bitches.
Yeah, it's causing death to people. Yeah,
Other than himself.
yeah. Death to others. That's when he had the lynch mob producing, and really great album. You know, those first 2 or 3 albums when Ice Cube went solo with America's Most Wanted.
Man, he had a great run of albums, man.
Yeah,
sure
he
did.
really did.
Holy
And
shit.
Death Certificate.
Ice Cube was the man.
Between him and Chuck D, man, those
Yeah.
to me are the lyricists. To if you're a hip hop guy, you gotta.
Yeah, with Cube coming out of the West. And also, you know, you really think about it, you know, Chuck D did appear on a song on America's Most Wanted on Ice Cube's debut album, and so did Flavor Flav, and the whole album was actually, the music was produced by the Bomb Squad.
Yep.
which is Public Enemy. They just
Yeah.
had Ice Cube on it, and what a departure to leave NWA and all that, and then hook up with the Bomb Squad and release a solo album that way.
Well, that was a
total
big thing.
departure from the West Coast sound, but dude, so much better. I thought it was better than what NWA was doing and Dr. Dre and all that. Ice Cube was always above all that.
NWA was not the same after Cube left.
Oh no, they weren't even close.
Absolutely not.
They weren't even
Absolutely.
close to it.
Yeah.
So that's my number 3 is Death Certificate.
All right. My number 3, been mentioned before by Chris and Joe. It's a little higher on my list, though, but I'm going Face Warning, Pleasant Shade of Gray. I'm not going to dwell on it, man. It's a great album. It's one of a phenomenal Face Warning album. I'm a little more of a Parallels guy. I love Parallels.
Love that.
That's my favorite album by them. But damn, this album came out, dude. I was like, wow, you know, them in like Dream Theater, and they were like leading the charge, man. You know, in like quality and
Yeah.
all that, you know. So So that's my number 3. I'm not gonna dwell on it. So number 2, Chris.
Well, and as much as I love Parallels, that's why I call them low rank Queensryche, because to me, Parallels sounds like a Queensryche album. It just, a lot of it sounds like Queensryche, but that's just,
Yeah,
that's a different discussion for a different day.
produced by Terry Brown too.
There you go. My number 2 is,
I thought of that as like they're moving pictures. That's what I thought of it as.
yeah, that makes sense. That checks. Number 2 is arguably, in my opinion anyway, one of the most unsung, underrated, untalked about metal albums of the 90s. It's Life of Agony's River Runs Red.
Oh God, I was almost gonna put that on my list.
What a
too.
fucking incredible album this is. And again, another one that if you're on the cusp of depression, you definitely do not need to want to hear this album, because that's not a good one. Unless you're the type, unless you're like me, where sad music uplifts you and it kind of gets it out of you. But not a lot of people are like that. So
I'm like that.
but
So,
River Runs Red is, long story short, guitarist, what's his name? Well, I think it was Alan White is his name, actually, which is odd because that's the name of the drummer for
Alan Roberts.
Alan Roberts, that's right. See, I always do that. Yes, he had a friend, killed himself, pretty much, and it was a scene thing, and it was a big thing in the scene, and LOA was a hardcore band before they became like this metalcore band, and so it was a big deal. And there's little like vignettes of sound vignettes of like this kid coming home and like everything is miserable. This baby's crying and dad's yelling and mom is calling him a piece of shit. And then he goes in his room and he puts on his, like, he's got music on, but he's listening to his voicemail, and his voicemail saying, "You're a piece of shit. I'm breaking up with you." And then the next one is like, "You're losing your fucking job. You're trash." And then like, so it's like, it's one on top of the other, but my goodness, the riffage on this album is just mind-boggling. And then and I love the drums. Mina Caputo, she sings her ass off on this record, and just awesome. And I remember seeing them live for this album, and I thought it was weird that Mina Caputo, who I won't dead name her, but I found it odd that she wasn't addressing the crowd ever, like the band, like Alan would always talk. Like she would never talk. Like she would just kind of disappear and then come back when the song started, and then just
when did you see that? When did you see this?
This was in the 90s. This was like when they were first.
But when he was still Keith, then.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not going to dead name him. It's not a thing I do, but I don't blame you. It's fine. Just for clarity for people who are watching. Yes, the lead singer of Life of Agony is a transgender woman named Mina Caputo. Used to be named Keith Caputo, but yeah, she would just kind of. And now, and so when she came out and did all that, and like all of a sudden, it made sense. I was like, oh wow, she was shy as shit. She didn't feel comfortable in her own skin. So it's very interesting to look back on that album now with that in mind. Like it's a very interesting. But the album's tremendous. The lyrics are great. Music is amazing. Just check it out. You'd be better off for it.
Oh, dude, that was a big album, man. I remember that when it came out in '93. That was talked about a lot, man. And when I heard it, I was blown away by it.
I mean, we talked about it a lot because I grew up on Long Island, and you're an East Coast guy too.
They were a New York band.
Yeah, New York City band. So of course it was big by us. But I can tell you, when I moved to California and I started talking to my metal friends out there, they don't know shit about that album. It's so weird to me.
Such a regional thing.
Yeah, it is very much so. But and then I started showing people it, and they were like, "My God, how did I not hear this before?"
Yeah. Well, being from New Jersey, they were big in New Jersey, man.
Yeah, of course.
Right across the river.
Yep, of course.
So.
Yep.
All right, man. So what are we at? Number two?
Joe,
right?
number 2.
My number 2. So there's this album called Brave by this band called Marillion.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like we've talked about this.
I feel like we've talked about this somewhere.
I think Joe
I don't know.
Get better about it though. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. So the whole concept behind this is the band saw a news report about a girl that they found on a bridge that wasn't communicating with the police, that like something was up. And so they wrote this entire album based around like what could the backstory be to that. And so it starts off with the song Bridge, kind of introduce the story. There's the whole going through all the different things the girl's been through. abuse, breakups, just depression, all different things that would lead her to this. And what's really interesting is if you own the CD, you don't get any of this part. But if you own the original vinyl, there's actually 2 endings to this album. On the original vinyl, it was a double groove, and so it would play one of 2 endings, and you never knew which ending you were going to get depending on what.
See, that's pretty
which of the
awesome.
grooves.
That's wacky. That's awesome. That's hella
And
cool. I've never heard of that before. That's
At
dope.
the ending of the CD, she goes and she basically moves on with her life. The last song, Made Again, is kind of this uplifting song about moving on with your life after all this trauma. And on the second groove, about halfway through the song The Great Escape, it's a little bit of a different version of The Great Escape. And then just a bunch of water noises.
We love that.
And so you can kind of assume where that version of the album
You can kind of tell what happens there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, depending on which version, which groove plays,
Wow,
on
that's
one
crazy. I've
version,
never heard of
it's
that.
an uplifting ending. On the other version, she jumps.
Yeah.
And so
She
it's
bit the big
real
one.
interesting. Yeah, like literally, like depending on which groove decided to play that day, either she survives and it's this uplifting story about overcoming trauma, or this girl just jumped off a freaking bridge and killed herself.
Yeah, but how does
So
that
I'm not
work?
exactly positive how the double groove thing works, but
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with just the way the
Where it
record plays. I'm
feels?
not exactly positive.
I
Yeah,
think we just found out that Joe, once upon a time, had a mental break, and he thought he was hearing something different, but the reality is,
There's a cool. I'll show it real quick, but keep talking.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
yeah. And if you get the deluxe edition of this, the big Marillion has released a bunch of really cool deluxe editions. They're all in like
Yeah.
books, like hardback books. And if you get the deluxe edition, on disc 2 is the alternate ending. At the very beginning of disc 2, they have the alternate ending
Okay.
of the album.
All right.
It's the only time it's ever been available on CD.
So when you spin it on the vinyl, you really don't know what ending you're going to get until it starts.
I think so. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the double groove thing.
I think that's how it works.
So the double groove thing. I have this Rush promo called Russian Roulette.
what the fuck is that?
So what this is it's a double groove thing too. You when you put the needle down on the record, it goes into a certain groove and it'll play a different song each time.
Is that a Rush record?
Yeah, it's a Rush.
Where
So
does
it's a promotional it's
for
all
what?
right, so it has excerpts of 6 tracks from Exit Stage Left. So it's got A Passage to Bangkok, Closer to the Heart, Red Barchetta, Spirit of Radio, Tom Sawyer and the Trees. So when you put the needle down, it'll play any one of those 6 songs. It's basically it's Russian roulette. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
So
incredible.
it's pretty hard to find, but
I have a new thing to shop for.
if you ever fucking come across this, get this, man.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Come across it. I'm going to be searching for it actively. It's about,
it-
we're about 30 seconds away from offering you money for it.
When you actually look at the, I mean, you're not gonna be able to see it on there, but
Right.
when you look at the actual vinyl and you look at the grooves, you can tell something's different about it. You can
That's so cool.
you see
man.
all these like kind of, it's like you can tell, man. It's like the needle just catches like a certain groove, you know, when you put it down.
It's like the upper or lower or kind of thing.
It just when you start it out at the beginning of the record, it just I guess it depends on where you catch it on the record. It just
Wow,
catches
that's
a
crazy.
different group and a different song out of the 6 plays. So it's I mean
at that point.
the concept is cool, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
So-
funny. I dabbled in record resale, and I've never heard of that. Like that. I've learned something brand new right now.
So with that Russian roulette, is it spelled RUSHIAN? Like
No,
Russian? Like
It looks like it was Rush.
It was
dash
Rush
N.
apostrophe N.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Dude, that
fucking
is
incredible.
crazy.
That is incredible that
Never
that
seen that before.
exists.
So
Ah, fuck you,
I,
Al.
I
God.
always when I
But
was
yeah.
going to record conventions and stuff like in the 90s and early 2000s, basically when vinyl you can get it for 50 cents a dollar.
Yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah, I miss those days. I think I probably got this for like $10,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah.
which was kind of expensive at the time, you know, but I was like, dude, I'm a Rush head. I gotta have it, dude. You know,
yeah,
it's
definitely.
so
For
and
$10?
I
For
looked
$10,
yeah.
I'd drop $100 on that right now.
But you'll never find that again anywhere. I mean,
It's
I've
tough
never
to find,
heard of
man.
it.
You'll probably find it on Discogs, I'm sure. You know, but you're probably gonna pay some money for it.
Oh, well, you know me, man. I'm a story guy. If I can't
Yeah, so I just looked it up in eBay, and one is going for $299,
Dude.
and the other one is signed by the band, and it's going for $2,000.
Oh well, that's
Oh, yeah. Wow.
you're gonna pay if it's signed by the band. Forget it, dude. You're gonna.
Yeah. My number 2.
But there's only 2, by the way. There's only 2 on
Yeah.
eBay.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Andy.
that's rare.
Yeah, my number 2. We did a review on this album actually on Black Spinner Circle with me and Al. Weezer, Pinkerton.
I knew you were gonna pick this one.
It's a good
Which
one.
album's loosely based on Madame Butterfly. It's a great concept from beginning to end, and of course I'm going to pick this one. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I absolutely love it. So Weezer is my number 2. Pinkerton, great album.
So yes, that is a great album. I'm sorry. You've completely thrown off.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
completely
man.
thrown. Yeah, I might as well not even be here anymore. Honestly, I'm in a whole different world.
All right,
Like,
let's get through the show, and then you can go look shit up, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Let's do it. I'm
All
being
right, so my
so
number-
unprofessional.
Later.
All right, so my number 2.
Yeah.
And incredible album by this band, and I mean, most people probably think it would be my number 1, but there's one album that edges it out for me as my number 1. So my number 2 is Metropolis 2: Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater. That's my number 2. I know it's gonna be picked by some other people, so
See, now I don't have to be here anymore. Bye, everybody.
no, I'm not going to pontificate on it. I think it's incredible. I saw them on this tour do the whole entire album at a club in New Jersey, dude, and it was fucking incredible. It was awesome. And Steve Morse actually opened. The Dixie Dregs actually opened up for them.
Dixie Dregs. Yep, I saw the
Yeah,
same
man,
tour.
it was really cool.
I saw the show that they recorded for the album, for the live album.
In New York, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
I didn't go to that one, but I went to. It was down in Jersey Shore. It was a club called the Trade Winds, and I saw them there. And I remember, dude, I was blown away. I had already seen Dream Theater before that. The first time I saw Dream Theater was when they were doing a Change of Seasons when that came out. That was my first time I saw them. So I had already seen them like twice before that because I saw them on that tour, and then I saw them on the Falling Into Infinity, and then the Metropolis tour. So yeah, blown away, man. The concept is awesome, and I think Terry Brown even had a hand in this album, and it was just fucking phenomenal. Chris, go ahead, man.
And that's my number 1. That's my number 1
That's
album.
what I figured.
Is Metropolis 2: Scenes from a Memory.
Number 1.
Yeah, you don't even have to rub your hands together. I already gave away the game.
Okay.
The concept's great. The song is wonderful. The album is wonderful. The melodies on this album are just like this is. Joe and I had an extended conversation about Dream Theater recently, and it's always the way, like, everybody listens to Dream Theater or they know about Dream Theater and they go, oh, they're so technical, and oh, they're such good players, and oh, their songs are so long and epic. This album is not even about, like, of course the technicality is great and the guitar playing is great, but you find me a melody like Strange Deja Vu's chorus
Yeah.
anywhere else on the planet, like, that shit is gold. Spirit Carries On might be one of the most emotional songs I've ever seen live. Like,
Yeah.
that song is incredible. Home, even though it's a blatant ripoff of Tool's 46 and 2 at the very beginning, is still an amazing song because the rest of the song sounds nothing like Tool, and it's fucking incredible. Yeah, this album is just soup to nuts, top to bottom. I mean, even Dream Theater's got some spotty lyrics throughout their days. This album really doesn't suffer from that all that much. It's
I
really
think this is
well,
the crown jewel, man.
yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's well written. And it's hard to say for me. It's hard for me to say it's their crown jewel since it's like not even my favorite Dream Theater album. But I think if I was ever going to point to one Dream Theater album and be like, yeah, you need to start right there, it's probably Scenes from a Memory. You're going to get everything that you want from Dream Theater and then some, and you're going to get it probably in the most palatable, best delivery that they've done thus far in their career. So yeah, Scenes from a Memory is amongst my favorite concept albums of all time, let alone the 90s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
great record. Just great record.
All right, Joe, man, you're number one, brother.
If I die tomorrow,
There it is.
I'd be all right.
Knew it. I fucking knew it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like nothing else was going to be the number one on this list. I will actually go against what Chris said. I think the concept of this is shit. I think it's absolutely shit. But the songs are so amazing, and honestly, I will agree though. Lyrically, not bad. For
That's
Dream
what I was
Theater,
just about to
this is
say. I was about to say,
lyrically not bad at all.
I didn't say anything about the story because I don't think the story is amazing. I think the lyrics are
No,
decent.
you did say you said the concept is solid.
Yeah, it
You
might be
did.
solid. Sure, it's solid. It's thought out. It's not.
It's
it's not the worst.
It's
I've
all
heard
over
way
the
worse.
place.
I've heard way worse.
Honestly, if you just put this album on and did not read anything, you'd have no idea what is going on.
I
in the
disagree with
slightest.
that. I picked up on it. And I don't read lyrics very often. I really don't until
But
I
here's my
want to
thing.
sing it.
Here's the thing, though. I agree with that for the first 3 songs. After that, out the window. The concept is out the window, pretty much. Honestly, you get a great setup on Regression, Strange Deja Vu, like through Fatal Tragedy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like past that, when it gets into the meat of the matter and who killed who and all the backstabbing, all that stuff that you get by reading the story, none of that is translated in the slightest in this
So-
in the back half of this album.
So one of my older sons, he's always telling me that he can't have conversations with me regarding Dream Theater or Kiss because as much as I hate both of these bands, I am also very biased towards both of these bands. So
As am I. Those are 2 bands that I'm very biased towards.
I tend to find myself giving a lot of latitude when it comes to Dream Theater. Like even recently, he was like, my son was like, dude, James LaBrie sounds like barely a singer. And I'm like, well, I've heard some things. He's like, dude, stop. We can't we can't talk about this. I want to point out one more thing that's super cool about this album is that this album kicks off a string of, I think, 5 albums in a row where the album ends and then the next album begins the same way.
Yep.
And they do it for 5 albums in a row.
Yeah, because this ends with the Static and
Yep. 6
6 Degrees starts with the
I mean,
Static.
6 no, yeah, 6 Degrees.
Yeah,
right.
6 Degrees starts with Static. That ends with the long tone, and that's what opens up As I Am.
As I Am. And then
In the Name of
Octavarium
God starts with the same note that
with the same note that In the Name of God ends with, yeah.
yeah.
And then
Yep.
that ends with Octavarium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in
So
itself
wow.
is 8 chords.
Right.
Andy's like, yeah, you can get real nerdy with this band.
Oh God, yes.
Oh,
You
yes,
have no
you
idea,
can.
dude. Do you not like Dream
Oh,
Theater,
yes,
Andy?
you can.
Oh, I've never gotten into it. Never even tried.
Are you not a prog metal person, or is it just not something you've gotten into yet?
I'm not a prog metal. I like prog of the 70s or like different prog, but not quite prog metal.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just not me.
I mean,
This
if you like
album.
Iron Maiden,
right here.
if you like Iron Maiden, you may
do.
want to try Dream Theater because it's the closest. Like,
I think you'd like Images and Words too.
I think you
yes.
might like early Dream Theater for sure. I think you might like the first 3 or 4 albums from Dream Theater. I
I
think
would say
you-
check out Images and Words and this. Those are the
Awake.
two.
Yeah, that one too. Awake is a possibility.
Awake
too.
might be a little too.
It's a little heavy at times, but
Yeah.
I'll double check.
Falling into Infinity would be something you'd probably like too.
yeah, that's a little more
Yeah.
friendly.
Yeah.
But
And
everything about,
I actually really like that album. I know it gets a lot of hate in the Dream Theater world.
I love Falling into Infinity.
Yeah, but I love. I mean, it's very song oriented, and
My
I know
only
they-
My only criticism of that album is that there's one too many ballads. That's all. There's just one too many slow songs.
yeah,
That's all. And it's not even that any of those songs are bad. It's too much.
too much. It's too
Yeah.
much. Of a,
It's just too
yeah.
much. They're trying too hard for a radio hit, and it was obvious.
It was record company pressure too. I think.
Without question, because Change of Season, no, not Change of Season. Derek Sherinian said that because he has tapes, and I would love to hear these fucking tapes. But he has tapes of Scenes from a Memory of Metropolis 2. Actually, it wasn't called Scenes from a Memory; it was called Metropolis 2, and it was, I think, a 20-minute song that was supposed to be on Falling into Infinity, and it got nixed by the record company because they were trying to make a double album or something. So
I do love Trial of Tears on there though, man. It's fucking phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
do you know how many years I called that song "Trail of Tears"? I don't know. Whatever.
All
Andy,
right, man. So 2 number ones for that,
Yeah.
Andy.
with a
Your
bullet.
Your number one's gonna be Dream Theater.
One is not a Dream Theater album, but it is a double album. It's already been spoken about.
Okay.
Talking about Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy,
Yes.
and Infinite Sadness. I know that I just said Pinkerton's my top 20 albums of all time, and it is. But the context of what we're talking about, a concept album of the 90s, Melancholy and Infinite Sadness beats it out for this title alone because of the grandiose of the album. I don't get lost in this album. It's a double album. It's one of my favorite double albums of all time. Top 5 of double albums. I'll put it up there with the White Album and The Wall and Melancholy.
And of course, Kiss Alive 1.
Well, yeah,
That's a concept
but no,
It is a concept
about Paul's
Yeah.
It
death.
is.
it's fantastic. I love
about how to
the-
get syphilis.
I love the use of the guitars on here, and on this album in particular, pretty much Billy Corgan and James Aya have the solo duties, something that they did not do in the first 2 albums. So that was pretty interesting, and of course they let Jimmy Chamberlain just really
off.
go.
He's a
Go
great,
off
great
on-
drummer.
Ugh. Fucking love that.
And I don't know who told me this. I think it might have been you, Al. Told me that that Chamberlain does have his own jazz trio.
He does the jazz thing on the side. Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard it. And damn, it's really damn good.
Yeah, he's phenomenal drummer, man.
Yeah. It's just
He's-
called the Jimmy. I'm the Jimmy Chamberlain trio.
He's very underrated drummer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he really is, and you can see why Billy always keeps him in his back pocket. No,
Yeah,
matter
there was a after this album he became estranged because of some drug use, but
He had the drug problems. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it was like maybe it was just a door that he was gone on. Then he came back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Adore and this one here, this Eulogy.
Well, I know in the 2000s he was gone for a little while too. Yeah, because when I saw the Pumpkins and they had a different drummer.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And in fact, on this album here, it's called Elegy of it's on there, but this is with Tommy Lee on drums.
Okay. Oh yeah, Tommy Lee's on there. Yeah.
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 Tommy Lee's on this one.
But he had another album where he had a different drummer as well.
Yeah, he did, but Jimmy was always his.
But
right
Jimmy belongs there, man. He's just such a part of that group.
Oh yeah, there's nobody else that could drum for the
So-
Pumpkins the right way. So that's going to be my number 1, Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. I am on the verge of almost collecting because I've been looking for the Aeroplane
Flies high.
Flies High, but I've been finding the disc solo. So I've got 3 out of the 5, and what it is that the Pumpkins released 5 singles off that album, and each single came with an additional 6 or 7 tracks on there.
And they made a box set out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was like another 33 songs that could have been attached to this double album, and
Yeah.
it's almost just continuation of what this is. So it was a phenomenal piece of work, which unfortunately or fortunately for them, this was, I mean, they put all their eggs in this one basket. And after this one came mediocre stuff like Adore and Machina and The Machine of the Gods Part 2. Then they kind of got back to it on Silgist and this Eulogy. But then,
Zeitgeist.
huh?
Zeitgeist or something.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah, Zeitgeist. Yeah.
Yeah.
But their last album that just came out a couple months ago goes back to pretty much just pretty much guitar, drums, and bass.
Well, it's
With a
and
little
it's a
bit of
sequel. It's a
keyboard.
sequel to Melancholy. So.
Oh yeah, that's what. Well, no, I don't think this one is. It was the one before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
forgot that they put out another one. That's
Yeah, yeah. This last one is just a pure good rock album. The so-called sequel was just boring and overly done. Which when you thought this was overly done, no, they really go overboard on the continuation of it. But that's my number one, Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. Al, what's your number one, man?
Saints
Well,
Remember. Oh no, he already did that.
Well, there's an album that I absolutely think is the best concept album of the '90s, way ahead of its time. It's really this came out in '99, so it's right at the tail end of the '90s. And I was into this band a lot. And did it come out in '99? Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, 98, 98 it came out. Then it got reissued in '99, but with extra tracks. But the story of this album is so relevant to what's going on now. It's almost scary how far ahead they were with this story. But it's Fear Factory, Obsolete. Incredible album. If you're gonna talk about like, industrial metal, that's this Fear Factory is a part of that. Fucking the story takes place in 2076. It's just basically machines taking over mankind, technology just overcoming man and destroying mankind. Kind of like what AI is starting to do. It's
I
gonna
didn't know
be
that was a concept album. I really didn't know that.
Yeah.
Isn't there a cover of Cars on there?
that's on the reissue. It's the bonus tracks.
Okay, so it is a bonus track. Okay, that's what I.
It's not part of the concept.
That
but
was
yeah,
like actually the hit from that album.
yeah. When it got reissued, the Cars is on here plus like 4 other songs.
Oh, interesting.
But
I didn't know that was a concept album. That's cool.
But the concept is 10 tracks, and it's just basically technology, machines just destroying mankind, making man obsolete. And it's kind of depressing too, man. I mean, when you go through it and you kind of realize, man, it's really happening now. It's starting to, you know what I mean? Because it will happen eventually, man. It won't happen in our lifetimes, maybe not even our children's lifetime, but it'll happen soon enough, man. In another 100 years, man, who knows? We might even be here. You know what I mean? Mankind. So it's scary to think about, but the whole advent of AI and computers like learning and things and learning on its own and just kind of evolving and the story of this is just it takes over and it makes man obsolete, but I love Burton C. Bell's vocals on this. He can make again industrial, he can make it emotional as well. The second to last song here, Resurrection, his singing almost brings tears to my eyes. It's so emotional. You don't think of industrial metal as being an emotional genre, but they make it emotional. There's something about it. The lyrics, the singing that he delivers. He's one of the greatest, like going from melodic to like fucking, screaming. And he was really kind of the forerunner of kind of this style of
he's up
vocals,
there for sure.
Because nobody really before him, nobody was really doing it, man. And I just think this is an incredible album. It's my favorite Fear Factory album of all time. I know people point to Demanufacture before this one,
Of course.
and that's a phenomenal album as
That's
well.
their calling card.
But this is their first true concept album. I mean, it really just tells a story from beginning to end. So if you don't have this one, check it out, man.
Yeah,
I love that album.
Huh?
Yeah.
You like it, Joe?
Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
album. When I saw Fear Factory last year, they actually opened with the first 2 tracks off that album. Shock and Edge Crusher was what they opened.
Oh
up
yeah,
with.
dude. Yeah, just banging tracks, man.
Yeah.
Now I think there's a Fear Factor now, and Burton C. Bell isn't even in them anymore.
He's not. It's
Dino Cazares.
it's just Dino.
Yeah,
And then
the
the
guitar player.
bass player from Static X is the bass player.
Yeah,
I'm not
because
sure-
Christian, the old bass player, he was actually
Yeah.
filling in for Overkill on his tour.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
when I saw Overkill open for King Diamond, Dee Dee was back. So
Yes.
I think that was his first show back. So anyway,
Yeah, so right now the lineup is just Dino on guitar, Tony Campos from Static X on bass, and then a new singer who's actually really, really good. Really, really good singer, and then a new drummer.
I love Burton so much, though. I just can't envision seeing him without Burton, man. It's just,
Yeah.
I
I'll tell you
get it, man.
The singer that they have, younger guy, kind of reminds me a little bit of what Skid Row did with Eric Grunwald. Younger guy, European,
Who can hit?
really did the material justice. Yes.
Yeah.
Really did the
That's what
material
you-
justice.
That's what you got to do. Looking for Dream Theater to do that soon.
Yeah, but we all
Well,
know
anyway.
Dream Theater's going to do it. They just need to get what's his
They're
name
never gonna do it.
from Symphony X.
Yeah, they need Russell Allen.
They need Russell Allen. Who?
Yeah.
I'll pull it now. I'll be seeing Russell Allen in concert next Saturday
You guys
with
are fucking
TSO.
hilarious. All of you guys are hilarious.
Anyway, that's
One.
so.
Yeah.
That's our number ones. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was gonna say that's one of my favorite parts of seeing TSO on the East Coast is you get Russell Allen, you get Zach Stevens, you get Caleb Johnson that was on American Idol, and a bunch of the hottest women you'll ever see in your life with the
Mhm.
greatest vocals you'll ever hear in your life.
Mhm.
Down here in
Indeed.
Florida is the West Coast version with Al Petrelli and
Yeah.
but it's still a great version too. There's still a lot of great.
Yeah, 'cause
Without-
that's Jeff Scott Soto.
Yeah,
I
I think Mariah Formica from
yeah,
Plush is going to be on
from
this
Plush.
one.
Yeah.
He was there last year
Yeah.
too when I saw him last year.
And
Yeah.
apple jelly.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our
Yeah.
show. Andy, we got something cooking next week, right?
Yeah, we got a big show next week. It's going to be a dream
Theater. No, I'm just kidding.
a dream episode. Let's say the Beatles were still together in 1973. What we're going to do is we're going to pick the best tracks off of all 4 Beatles solo albums. We're talking about John Lennon's Mind Games, Paul McCartney's Band on the Run, George Harrison's Living in the Material World, and Ringo. We're gonna
Wouldn't that be Dark Horse for George?
No, it was Living in the Material World
Okay.
in 73. Yeah,
Okay.
Dark Horse was 74.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dark Horse was 74. So we're going to pick our favorite albums. This idea came from our friend James Swart, so he'll be on. We're going to be doing 5 tracks from John, 5 tracks from Paul, 2 from George, and 1 from Ringo. We're going to follow the same template that the Beatles did on their albums, or the majority of them. So that's what we have cooking next Wednesday. After that, I don't think we're going to do an episode. I don't think we've talked about that the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about that yet, but I'm sure we'll do something.
Yeah, we'll
So,
do. So
I think of a good concept for that.
Thanksgiving songs. Songs about turkey.
Week. No Adam Sandler shit.
Sabadoo. Sabada.
So that's
what
what's going on next week.
Chris, what do you got going on?
This week what are my long form videos this week? I don't even know. I have my live stream every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So please come by and say hello at Redbeard Videos. I think one of the main topics of this week's show will be, why the fuck do we have to deal with Slayer again? And then I have daily videos all weekend long. So come to the channel. If you just spend a minute, It's a good time. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, always new videos on that. Check all my socials, TikTok, Facebook. I don't do Twitter anymore. Instagram, Redbeard videos, all those places. And I don't remember what my long form video is this week. I feel like I should have. I have, and I post new long form videos at least once a weekend, usually on Saturday. This weekend I had 3 currently up there. Like, I have a rant about Eddie Trunk constantly talking about people playing the tracks. And I did a review of the newest Vola album, Friend of a Phantom, which is fantastic. And I have the top 5 cover songs that you didn't know were covers, or you probably didn't realize were covers. So go check them out. And there's 100 other videos up there too. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it so much. Always. You guys are always a great time. So
thank you.
Joe, anything coming up, man?
Nope, I ain't got shit.
All right. So
Joe is the nomad of the group. He just shows up and talks music and then leaves.
he's
It's
the
great.
dream.
I fucking love it, dude.
He's smart, man. He doesn't have to spend time, creating the content. He could just be a part of it. And
He's just here being it, man. That's it. He's doing the thing. I love it.
It's like a grandparent that gets their grandchild. Yeah, I can take care of it for a little while, but then I can give it back. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
Just sitting here drinking my coffee.
Andy, any last words?
So Thursday I will be on the BS sections with Mark and Jerry. We're going to be doing our top 11 stoner movies.
Oh,
yeah, which is pretty interesting. That
just smoke on the air too while you're doing that.
I think Mark would do that for all of us.
Yeah,
he already does.
Thursday. So I'll be there on Thursday.
All right,
But,
man.
any last words? Yeah, we talked about some really great albums here. Some albums that I've never heard of, but I learned the concept of them. I wrote everything down, and I made sure to download some on my Apple Music so I can visit them. So really good picks here. And we learned something new there about the double groove on an album I've never heard of. That's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll be obsessed for the next 2 hours trying to see if I can hunt down a copy for less than $1,000. Christ, killing me.
Send the grand my way, bro.
Al will even sign it for you. How about that?
The other thing I want to mention, on Spotify, I think I'm Redbeard videos on Spotify, but I'm not 100% sure. But in any case, if anybody's interested in a playlist, I always make playlists just out of my own autistic brain because I talked about these albums. So now I usually grab a song or two and make a playlist out of it. So I will offer that to whoever's listening or whoever's watching. You just send me a message and I will send you the link and you'll be good to go. And you can be introduced to these albums a little bit at a time and see if it's worth your time to check out the rest.
All right.
And I will look into a little bit more to Dream Theater. The only thing is that I need to find the time for it.
It does. It's a little bit of a commitment. That is true.
Well, that's why I said literally just jump in, take an hour of your time, and put this album on. Honestly, like Chris said, it really is kind of the best of all the different worlds that Dream Theater is. Technical, you have some technical instrumentals on here. You have some beautiful kind of ballady songs. You have some really melodic songs. You have some really straightforward hard rock. Just everything that Dream Theater is on this album, and I think it's the best kind of introduction for people. So honestly, I can't recommend more to just take an hour of your time and just put this album on.
Our great friend Will Toth has sent me a timeline of where I should start.
Yes, I've seen the same one.
Yeah, he's a huge Dream Theater fan. Yeah.
He's all just follow this. I was like, okay, and I haven't even done that yet. But I will keep that in mind. Thanks a lot, guys. So that's my parting words. Is really great album choices by y'all. Really
all right, man. And then check us out on Black Spinner Circle and Be Cool to Be Podcast out on YouTube. Subscribe, all that good shit. And have a great night, everyone. Cheers.
Bye, guys. We'll see y'all next week.
Take care.
Peace out.